Welcome to the Plague Hive. With me today once again is George Keys, who managed to top 8 the recent Battle Hardened in Liverpool with Uzuri, in a meta that most people, myself included unfortunately, thought would be quite hostile for the Switchblade. George, thanks for joining me again today. What are your thoughts about Uzuri in this current environment, and why did you actually decide to bring her for this event?
Oh, well, no, thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here. Uzuri, I just love Uzuri. That's the basic answer. I by far the hero I've got the most reps on and put the most time into. So I
All right.
kind of just always going to go for Uzuri, until something more exciting comes along. So I mean, there's never any doubt, that I was going to play her, and I've some of the newer heroes I'd played some matchups into and felt okay into KO, okay into Kassai, Victor a bit less so, but can't win them all. So yeah, it definitely is a more hostile meta for Uzuri. Like, you don't have that kind of fallback of Lexi anymore to just give you the nice kind of positive matchup, the one you can sit down and feel good about going into. Like, everything's going to be a bit of a scrap. But that's kind of, Uzuri's good at eking out those little advantages. So even in those like 50-50 matchups, there's a lot of little tricks that you can pull that maybe your opponent isn't prepared for, because they're, Uzuri's not a huge part of the meta. Maybe they're not really well versed in like every little thing that she can do. So it's not like an easy day, but it's definitely one where you can like feel like most games you go into, you have a chance, or it's Dromai and you just get an early lunch or something.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's kind of always been sort of the case, right? But yeah, if we look at the meta, I think there was like 10 Dromais, if I remember correctly, something like that.
Yeah, because I think it was the most represented in the Hartford Battle Hardened. Like that was the kind of the biggest deck in the room, and then obviously all these brutes have come along, and hopefully, we just keep seeing them pushing Dromais out of the meta and letting Uzuri in.
I was actually surprised by that. Like, that Dromai was the most represented deck at Hartford in a meta where basically you were expecting to see a whole lot of KO and Victor, and people were still, all right, I'm bringing Dromai because like I think it's the best deck in the format currently. I'm just okay. But yeah, maybe they were really comfortable in their anti-popper tech, right? With like Dust from the Chrome Caverns and cards like that, or just Tome to really snowball the deck into early aggression and then just set up in a way that the popper decks can't really handle. But apparently it's fallen out of favor quite a bit if it's dropped off that much since. I mean, it's been just, 2 weeks since Hartford?
Yeah, I think like...
Or not even just one.
Yeah, it's not been ages.
Yeah,
I think generally, I think like the more passive popper decks, that like you say, they've got that setup time and they've got tools to kind of grind those matchups out. KO may be a little bit tougher just because he's so much more aggressive. Like puts the pressure on so much that maybe the setup just doesn't work quite as well. But don't quote me on it. Not a Dromai player.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Let's get into the deck that you brought for the event. Let me just switch over here. And there's definitely some spicy inclusions in here that I was definitely interested to see, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about why you decided to bring those cards. So let's start with the equipment suit, and all of this is one single layout. Like, there's no sideboard here, but we're going to talk about that a little bit, of course, how to sideboard into certain matchups and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. And as always, the link to the deck will be down in the description of the video, so you can check it out yourself if you want to play it at your armory or load it up on Teleshar and tinker around with it. Obviously, go down there and grab the deck and feel free to do so. All right, let's go over the equipment first. I think there's a couple of pretty standard stuff in here. So we've got Black Tex, Flick Knives, Tunic, Snapdragons. That's like, I think, the standard loadout. I think if I remember correctly, the last time I had you on the channel, you didn't run Black Tex. Is that correct? I think you were.
No, I think I've always been on the Black Tex.
Always on Black Tex.
Yeah. To be honest, the Snapdragons I'm kind of less and less impressed by. Like, it's still kind of a hangover, just like because obviously the Black Tex on hit go again doesn't work against allies.
Yeah.
because we're not allowed anything good. So yeah, you have to have the Snapdragons to like be able to kill a dragon, keep going, do something, have your little pipe dream of winning that one.
Yep.
But yeah, I could definitely see the Snapdragons just going, and because like more and more I've just been happy to run the black text into the control matchups, which was the other place that I used to bring in snaps. So yeah, just black text are good. And it, like as the only outlet for silver in the deck, it's kind of nice as well. Like nothing sadder than having 2 silver in your snaps.
Yeah, that's true. Like it happens sometimes into like the defensive decks that you just end up with some silver and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then sometimes
just looking at it,
you just pitch into it, but that always feels like a last resort sort of move, right? If you're pitching into silver, something has gone seriously wrong with your turn most of the time. So yeah, I can definitely see it. All right. Okay, so we've got these, and then we've got Spider's Bite, again, standard fare. Then we've got double Nerf Scalpel. That's kind of an interesting decision here. So was that actually coming up for you at some point? Because obviously you're running this with Concealed Blade, which we'll talk about later for a bit. Otherwise, there's no real reason to run double Nerf Scalpel. But could you actually pull that move off at the Battle Hardened, like flick a Nerf Scalpel and then re-equip another one with Concealed Blade and have that threat of lowering the defense reaction twice in a game?
Yeah, I pulled it off once. I mean, it's definitely like a very I would say unlikely. Like Concealed Blade kind of like shreds, or the way I tend to play anyway is kind of one of the first cards you're looking to maybe block with. So you've got 2 in the deck. You might be able to save one. You might have to pitch one at some point. So there's kind of one later on. The reason I included that was like just the more I played, I was just like more and more impressed with Flick Knives as just like the kind of inevitability. Like kind of the reckless swing of Assassin. Giving me the reach to just close out a close game. So I just kind of wanted like 3 damage off it rather than 2. But yeah, the double Nerf Scalpel it's just nice as well because like in those defensive matchups, kind of maybe in the mid game, they'll test you with a D-react. Like you send a Leave No Witness and they'll send a Sink Below to it. Like I'm happy either way. Do you want to? Am I going to take the Leave No Witness hit, or are you going to lose a dagger? Like what's the like what are you prioritizing? And having the ability to kind of have your cake and eat it, right. In that situation where you can say, yeah, I'll take your Sink Below down to 3. I'll get the arsenal. And then later in the game, I'm going to get that dagger back and kind of be able to continue threatening double dagger or just have that 2 damage from the Flick Knives still a possibility. Right. So yeah, it's kind of like a backup plan in a way. You can also run, you can run 2 Nerf Scalpels into decks which don't have attacks, like the Warriors, kind of non-Bolton Warriors, kind of the most like Kassai and Dory.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a consideration to switch one of those for like Scale Peeler? Because I feel like that would also be a dagger that could come in pretty influential against some decks. Like Brute has got a ton of armor, Guardian has got a ton of armor, obviously. Kassai, right? You can kind of deny her Valiant Dynamo value. Or do you think that just having the double Scalpel to play around D-Reacts is obviously you thought so since you decided to bring them, but in retrospect,
I still think so.
in retrospect, would you say that maybe Peeler would also be worth a consideration in that slot?
So I literally there was a sealed event on the Saturday, so the Friday before I was sitting there, and I had an orb to cast, the Nerf Scalpel, and the Scale Peeler there, and I was like, right, which one's it going to be? What's the third dagger? The reason I sailed on Nerf Scalpel, and I think I am pretty happy with the decision, is other than the dynamos off Kassai, which obviously you can get consistent value from. Most of these decks, they've got the kind of fridge, but I feel like it's very difficult to kind of always prevent them. Like a lot of hands are going to be, you're going to not have the time to dagger. You've got you want to use that card for blocking, so you're just going to send like isolate with your swap target, or you'll send the face up 6, or the death touch from Arsenal, whatever it is. Like there's going to be a time for them to use that armor, to kind of block you out at some point. So you're still going to have to chew through it. Like
right.
I just felt like the ability to kind of do the defensive reaction twice was going to be a little bit more relevant into like quite a controlling meta than like trying to balance when you're able to kind of send the dagger as well as hold the rest of your cards. Like the deck is built very defensively, so it's not always like on the offense throwing the daggers first, then able to do something. Like there's a lot of turns where you will just be doing your one play, like you're just trying to make your swap, or you're just trying to play your CNC or whatever, just get a few cards so you can kind of move on to the next turn with them having a little bit less on the offense. So yeah, no, I'm happy with the double nerve scalpel. I think like definitely reasonable to consider the scale peeler instead, because that gives you a better, like, obviously starting dagger suites against number matchups. Like two nerve scalpels, not ideal into Kassai, even though it's slightly better than having a spider's bite. You'd rather have the scale peeler, but I think that matchup's probably okay anyway. So like checking specifically for the Valiant Dynamo is probably not needed at the moment, But yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on it, and if that, like, meta shifts or Kassai find some tech to kind of punish us a bit more, maybe the scale peeler comes in instead of that second scalpel.
All right, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. All right. Okay, and then we got your customary AB pieces, Narun Gloves and Arcane Lantern, which you just kind of, if you don't want to just forfeit to Kano, I guess you need to bring those. It's an unfortunate reality.
The one is justifiable. Like Arcane Lantern, I think you're good for that one sideboard slot because you got the Rune Blades as well. So that kind of, you don't want to get punked out by a random Viscerai in the Swiss or something. But the Narun Gloves is definitely. You could make a very strong argument for just dropping it and kind of considering Kano a loss. I mean, it's a sideboard slot to give you a very kind of slight dream in that matchup where maybe you get a really aggressive start. You're kind of keeping on top of them. Your disruption lines up quite nicely. You find you go again early. You're chipping them down, and you can finish them off before they are set up for the kill.
The combo, right.
Yeah, I think obviously the better your opponent is on Kano, the less likely that is. It's a chance. I do find it very difficult to just like say no, it's fine. If I sit down from Kano, I'll just take the loss. Like I want to have that, even that's 10%. I want to know that's there. Yeah,
you just want to like give yourself at least a fighting chance.
At least a reason to play the game.
Yeah, okay. No, I get that. That makes sense. Like it's for me, that's like always one of the considerations to what deck I actually want to play. And I think one of the reasons why I tend to gravitate to Brood a lot, just because Brood has basically no auto loss matchups, right? You have a couple of matchups that are fairly bad, sure, but Brood can just win against anything, right? With the value they can generate and absurd, insane above rate turns they can sometimes pull out of a hat. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was always like pulled back to play Brood decks, right? Specifically Levia, just because she on paper has like no really bad matchups, except for you play Levia and then you actually sit down to play the game and the deck just decides, nah, not today, and then you just lose. That's definitely a thing that happens.
Its own worst matchup,
it's unfortunately, Levia's worst enemy is Levia. I think that's still a thing that hasn't really changed, even with the injection of new cards that she got from heavy hitters. Anyways, we're here for Uzuri, not Levia, so let's continue about that. So one other big change here, obviously, is the headpiece. You run Balance of Justice and only Balance of Justice. So you've replaced Crown of Providence, which I assume was like the de facto standard headpiece that you ran before.
Yes, absolutely.
With Balance of Justice. What's the reasoning behind that? Because it's not actually active in the sense that it'll draw you a card against every deck that you meet, right? Like you have to play into a deck that draws 2 cards at some point in the game, which is a lot of decks. Like Kassai will do that, KO will do that. Sometimes Kano does that, on some turn cycles.
Dromai on the
tone. Yeah. So there's a lot of decks that will fulfill the requirement for this card that'll give you an opportunity to use it. But against Guardian, for example, it doesn't really do a whole lot. So what's the idea?
You have to think up some wild situations. They're like running this round's on me, and then they play. It's not most likely. But I think Balance is sick. Like I've been very impressed by it. Crown of Providence obviously is a very strong card, particularly in a deck like Uzuri, where you often are mainboarding cards like Shred because of their 3 block against aggressive decks. and the ponder token can sometimes draw you a shred, and you have to kind of make that tough decision whether you want the extra card or the free arsenal more.
Yeah.
So it can get you out of some sticky situations. Like the kind of downside of Crown, I suppose, is that you don't get to always line that up with when you need to block. If you see what I mean. So just because turn 8 you've got a shred in arsenal, maybe your opponent's not doing something that requires you to have that extra 2 block. And you often end up in weird situations where the turn you need to, they've done a nourishing or something, so your crown kind of wants to go in there. It's not the turn that you need that change.
Right.
So I mean, crown's amazing. Like, I was running crown before this because it is really good and it is a very powerful effect. Even just fixing the hand, it doesn't have to be that arsenal card. But yeah, I think that balance. Still got the 2 block. You can block with it any time, and it just sits there waiting for you to crack it if you can. Just like always keeping tabs on your opponent drawing cards. And it does like. Obviously, KO is kind of a big presence at the moment. Like, people are very excited about the deck, and it seems to be doing quite well. So it's a great card to just really kind of open that matchup at. What could be quite tough, just getting a kind of mini husk that blocks for 5 out of your headpiece is pretty good.
Strong,
particularly on their best turn, you kind of get to have a strong defense as well. And like you said, there's a number of matchups where it's good, and it kind of gives you an extra edge in those. And I think a lot of the other matchups, like say the ninjas, something like that, the 2 blocks kind of the main effect anyway. So you still get access to that with a much higher upside into certain matchups without any with the trade-off being no upside into others. But I've really liked it, and I think at the moment with KO being popular, it's definitely the way to go.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like I can see, right? Like typically on the turn where an opponent draws 2 cards, that's the turn where you're gonna want to block. So you never really like waste it in that sense. Like you just block and then you activate it and draw your card, and you're good to go. And hopefully it's another 3 block at least, and you can actually get some work done that way. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
I get the reasoning behind that. That makes a lot of sense. All right. So I guess if you're like really scared of arsenaling shred, you can still run Crown of Providence, but in general, just don't arsenal shred, run Balance of Justice, you're good to go. It's like that's kind of the reasoning.
Or just arsenal the shred, just sometimes, no fear. Just like take it. Right.
Just take it. Sometimes
I'll make them block. Yeah.
You have to make the ballsy plays. Yeah. And then sometimes it works out. That's just how it goes.
And sometimes you die with a shred in Arsenal. Yeah,
that's true. Yes, definitely. That has definitely never happened more than once to me.
No,
definitely not.
Never made that mistake twice. That'd be terrible.
No. Who would do that? All right, let's go over the deck here, and I think we'll just talk about like the cards that are, I would say, less common inclusions in Uzuri. So. We'll just skip like CNC, Death Touch, E-Strike, Isolate, Leave No Witnesses, Shakedown, Codex of Frailty, Backstab, Surgical Extraction. I think that's just the standard stuff, right? Like, I mean, Backstab obviously is a little debatable, but you're running looking for a scrap, so that makes perfect sense. If you want looking for a scrap, Backstab is like the next best thing, essentially, after Isolate that you want in the list. And it ups your blue count, which is also nice if you're looking to have a couple more blues. So that kind of makes sense. That's all good. Let's start with the offensive options maybe, and then we go over the defensive part of the list a little bit. So you run Already Dead, which I'm always a fan of seeing since I was the one who actually got to spoiler that card. And it's unfortunately not played that much in Uzuri, especially not in lists that don't go heavy on the contract. So why did you decide to include this? Because your list otherwise doesn't really run any contract support, right? You've got Leave No Witnesses, you've got Surgical, that's it. No Cut to the Chase, no Plunder the Poor or anything. So why did you go with Already Dead?
Yeah, I mean, Already Dead's not to diminish the spoiler card, but it's perfectly fine. Like it's assassin typed and it's 6 power and it's 3 block, so it's got a lot of the elements that you're already looking for. The contracts is a nice kind of bonus. The main thing I think it does is if you have a copy in your deck and you maybe block early or something like that against particularly a more controlling opponent,
Mhm.
is that that's something that they taken out your graveyard, they have a little look at it, like they're incentivized now to play around already dead, or perhaps they already were, knowing that it's an option that Uzuri can run.
Right.
And just like little things like that, controlling how your opponent is approaching the game is kind of Uzuri's bread and butter. I think like
Yeah, the mind
you're getting.
games.
Yeah, exactly. Every card in your hand now could be already dead, so it's so that equipment block doesn't look so good anymore. Nobody wants to give away that kind of value. So yeah, it comes in for Jomai obviously as a popper, and then anything that you're expecting them to be doing a significant amount of blocking, or have a decent fridge. Like I think you could justify bringing it into Kassai, because it kind of makes them think twice about that. Just instant throw the boots into every stealth card you send.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's very rare you'll get the dream of banishing a Valiant Dynamos, but the kind of value's not as obvious if you see it.
Right.
It's more the way it makes your opponent think and play the game.
Okay, right. Like, so it's less about the immediate impact of the card and more about the psychological impact it has on your opponent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same as when you pitch a pummel like early in the game, and even if you have only the single copy of it, your opponent is gonna second guess every single blocking decision that
every time. You don't send dagger, you leave up the 2. You're just like, it could be pummel. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right. And then, like you said, it's just a well-statted assassin card, right? It's a popper that blocks 3, and it's an assassin attack. So
yeah. I mean, the deck's pretty heavy on generics, so getting your shreds in is
Yep.
If you pitch for later, and you want something with assassin typing, so you can presumably finish them off. Yeah.
Yep. And it's one of the bigger chunks of assassin damage that you can send at somebody. Like, it's the only 6 power assassin attack apart from Shakedown. So okay, yeah, makes sense. All right. Okay, and then next up, speaking of generics, we got Censor over here, which is a card that I personally love. I took it out of my list, and sometimes I still wish I had it, just because it's so fun to play Censor. And it's so absolutely rewarding when you name the right card and you can see on your opponent's face that they're going like, fuck. he just read my mind, and now my turn doesn't work. And that's awesome, awesome to see. But it's definitely also a card that requires a lot of knowledge on your part, like about what your opponent could run. You need a lot of knowledge about the game state. What cards did you already see? What cards could be in your opponent's hand? So it's definitely a difficult card, I think, to play well. So what's your experience with it? And what has it been like in testing or on the event itself?
Yeah, I mean, I love Censor. I think it's a bit of a pet card for me. I just think it's very... There's kind of a very poor selection of cards to swap in after the obvious ones, and I really do think Censor is the kind of the next level below your CNC, your Death Touch, your Shakedown, just as a disruptive card. Still got the blocks 3 on it. It's 1 cost, which isn't necessarily ideal because you're kind of losing that value of it could be 2 swapping in with Uzuri, but it does mean you can make Arsenal it, just looking for that tunic into 1 card, kind of 5, and like the on hit, you're absolutely right. You do have to have a pretty good knowledge of what your opponent might have in their deck. Like, every time a Censor hits, I say, trigger the on hit, and then like just pick, get their graveyard, get their banish zone. Look through all the information that you have access to. And there are decks like that do give you information as well. Like I had a game, I think round 3 or 4, where I was playing against KO, and he played a Cast Bones. Obviously reveals the 6 cards, so you can see what potential options he's going to have in his next hand, and I played a Censor, naming the one that would be most detrimental to me. Like, it's not a guarantee, but you can kind of at least limit the damage that might be dealt to you when you're given options like that. Sometimes you like shake down them, they reveal the hand, they put one of the cards in Arsenal, you know what it's going to be. Obviously off Codex, it's not ideal. Don't always have a Death Touch when you need to Codex, so Censor's like kind of this weird, like, almost like 1 turn CNC, where you can name the card they got back. So yeah, I think it has a lot of applications, and when you play with it, you do kind of, you're like, oh, they're showing me things like more than necessarily kind of realize when you're not like looking out for that. So
It's
yeah, no, I think that's great.
It's definitely a card where you think at first glance, okay, this is like slightly underwhelming, and then when you actually play with it, you start to realize that, like you said, you have information about what your opponent can have more often than you'd think when you play this card. So that's definitely kind of interesting. Even sometimes it's just like, I don't know, against a deck that runs some of the clash cards, for example, right? Like KO runs clashes occasionally, and then you know one of the cards in their next hand just because they clashed into it. Or sometimes decks will play Ravenous Rebel and show you the top card of their deck, stuff like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you do have a lot of ways to gain information. And on top of that, if you have good meta knowledge, right, you can just sometimes guess cards that would be like reasonable for your opponent to have in that situation. Like, for example, against a Kassai, if you name Blade Runner, there's a decent chance she's going to have 9 one of them.
Deck, like, because, you got this 9 Isolate in Uzuri. Like, there's often like this kind of key common or rare that is run. As many copies you can get access to, and if you have not enough information, it's early. They haven't done a lot. You can always just name that card, and it's
Or you just hedge your bets and you go like, okay, what's the card in their deck that hurts me the most right now?
Yeah, named a lot of Crippling Crushes in my day.
Yep. Or you just go Blood Rush into Brood, and then even if they don't have it, you're like, okay, sure, I whiffed the hit, but at least they don't have a Blood Rush, so I'm good to go. So that's there's like a limit to what their turn can do. Either way, whether you hit it or not. So it's kind of like an insurance card in that way. So okay, yeah, makes sense. Like I think a lot of people were sort of put off by it because it's not a popper. And
that's a shame.
I think that does make a lot of sense because you could run like this spot is like like you said, the next best disruptive on hit after you started taking CNC, Shakedown, Leave No Witnesses, right? Death Touch. And then you're looking for what other disruption can I bring. And then typically people gravitate to like Erase Face, Amnesia, and Humble. Those are like, I think, the 3 typical ones whose names get like thrown around once you start getting into that territory. And Censor is kind of interesting because it's like it blocks 3, which out of the 3 ones only Amnesia does. And in theory, Censor is relevant into every single deck.
Yeah, I mean, I've almost found Censor to be better into Ninja than Amnesia is as well, which is a bit funny because I think Amnesia was, that was its kind of niche. But that 3 block's so important because it depends on the hand. Obviously, like if Censor's your only action, you're going to keep it. But like, I think if you draw it with something better to do, now you can block with it. Whereas you put Humble in your deck and you draw it alongside a CNC and an Isolate.
Yeah.
And then you've got to decide if you're blocking 2 and sending the better effect, or blocking 3 and sending the worse effect. You don't want to be put in that kind of position when you are playing a deck that's really trying to like kind of work in the 1s and 2. Like eke out all the little advantages. Yeah.
So I think, like with that sort of background, right, that you're trying to play a fairly defensive Uzuri list, and that's like your main goal is, all right, I want to really focus on that core plan of block 2, swap, and then some disruption, right? That's kind of like the main game plan that you're going for, and you're not necessarily looking to play like big hands and go wide and do a lot of damage. You're just there for like the main value of the deck. And I think then running this card because it works into anything and it still blocks 3 versus Amnesia, which is a lot more restrictive and a lot more like niche in what it actually works against. It's like a handful of heroes where the text is actually relevant. And I guess then the next question is like, how much do you want to hedge for Illusionist, right? Like that's kind of what you also need to factor into your plans when you're building the deck. It's like, how much do I want to hate on Illusionist with this deck? And I mean, considering the fact that you already run Already Dead, which is one of those poppers, so your popper count's actually not looking that bad. You're on 12 poppers in the main?
Yeah. There's another one as well, but I think I've made as many concessions as I can to including poppers.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So okay, from that, like point of reference, I understand Censor, and like I said, I love the card. It's definitely a cool card, and hitting with it is probably, I would say, one of the more satisfying feelings in Flesh and Blood in general. Like if you hit with it and you can just see your opponent's face kind of drop a little bit, and then you just have that knowledge that, yep, I just kind of impacted their turn in a very, very major way, and it just feels pretty good.
And not to harp on about the mind games too much, but it's the same kind of thing, right? Is when you send a Censor, in their head they're thinking, oh God, what if they name the card that's pivotal, and they have to always consider, no matter how unlikely that is, or what their read is on your kind of likelihood to name it, they've always got to consider that maybe you will just like stab in the dark and name the absolutely worst card for them. And then that makes the block kind of interesting, as how much credit do they want to give you.
Yep. How much do they value your mind reading skills?
Exactly, yeah.
That's true. That makes sense, yeah. And you can play it off a blue. You can go dagger into Censor, which is also kind of a nice play that you don't really get to do with any of the other swap targets, because unless you're willing to spend a tunic on it.
Yeah, Arsenal Death Touch is right. Like that's a great turn. Like
Death Touch.
Two cards.
Yep.
Send a dagger. And 5 is kind of an annoying breakpoint as well, because
it is.
Like the Leap of Witness, usually it gets the 3 and it gets it tags a last bit of armor or something. Finding the other 2 is a little bit more costly. So it does. The 5's still nice, even though 6 would be ideal.
Obviously, but we can't have everything, unfortunately. That's a
not allowed.
Sad reality. All right, and then let's go down a little bit. So we got Give and Take here, which again, given that you want to run a slightly more defensive deck, makes sense, because it's like the only extender you can run apart from Enlightened Strike that still blocks 3. So this is probably the spot where in a more aggressive list you would put like Ravenous Rabble or something, right?
Or Pearl, the 0-3, right?
Yep, that works too.
Yeah. No, I see a lot of those. I prioritize the 3 blocks so heavily. And Give and Take's like absolutely fine. I think it kind of brings the deck up to a good level of like that you're churning your tunic pretty much as you get it. You're getting good value off of that.
Yep.
And if you are given bigger hands, you can do like dagger, Give and Take into whatever you were planning to do, or with your blue being for the 2 kind of go again sources there. Sure. So I'd like to Give and Take it. And the text does often just mean people don't block it. I don't know. It looks like you might do something. Better just take 3. Which is kind of what you want your go again to do, right? It's like you're trying to use like Give and Take, looking for a scrap to just chunk their life total down, so that your weird little tricks, can actually finish them off.
No, that's sensible. All right, looking for a scrap, we already mentioned that, and that's just like, one of the neat tricks that Uzuri has is she's kind of the only deck that can really run this card, just because it synergizes so well with your blue stealth cards that all come in for 1 power. The only issue I have with looking for a scrap sometimes is you kind of have to prioritize getting one of those blue stealth cards to arsenal, not to graveyard, right? So that you turn on your looking for a scrap. So you have to sometimes consciously block with it, even though you might rather use it as a pitch or as a stealth card. And then sometimes you just don't get to do that. But actually, I guess the fact that you run Concealed Blade and a 3rd dagger also means that you can sometimes just flick early just to turn on a looking for a scrap, right?
Yeah, definitely. Against a really aggressive deck, you're kind of incentivized to you're like, I'll throw this nerve scalpel at you, just do my damage, get my first looking for a scrap on. Yeah. But you can usually find a spot to bin one of your blues off. I've only got the 2 looking for a scrap, so it's not generally too difficult. And I do think it's a card I took out for a little while and really, really missed. So it's one of the few 2 blocks that I can kind of stand. But it really is that important to.
It's just
to
really
just hammer that damage.
It's just really above rate for what it does.
Yeah.
Like if you can go looking for a scrap of tunic and then into stealth like CNC, that's an insane 3-card hand. That's a really strong play that few decks can really keep up with, right?
3-card 11 with disruption. It's that's the kind of turnaround turn that you're really looking for to kind of in the mid game.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, and then we have, I think, the last card here on the, I would say, aggressive plan or like offensive card, and that's one that I'm really curious about, is Wreak Havoc, which has often been referred to as like CNC from Wish.com.
That's about right. Yeah,
or similar monikers where people are like, can't I run this as like a budget CNC? And then most people go like, not really, because it just doesn't do the same thing. And I'm really surprised, to be honest, to see that in a list. So what was the reasoning behind that, and what did it perform like?
Well, originally I'd registered 6 CNCs, but one of the judges actually told me I couldn't do that, so I had to go back to the drawing board.
Dang those judges, man!
Yeah, they're always on it. Yeah, no, it's it's bad. It's a bad card. Like that's definitely true. It has the most relevant line of text on it is the top one, not the. Sometimes you get them, like that's fine too, but it was another way to fight the really controlling decks.
Okay.
Whereby you can either both isolate and backstab work. Like it is nice off the backstab where it makes it so they can't just count the CNCs in your graveyard and say, oh, they're sending backstab, but I know it's going to swap into something I will be able to dereact into.
All right.
So you have 6 targets so that you can threaten that, and maybe that just forces a full block on a backstab. You might not have had anything, but it's kind of putting, again, like I was saying about the already dead, it's putting that thought that you've got these targets now that do make backstab really powerful, and there is a lot of incentive to Arsenal dereacts against Uzuri because of the isolates and
right?
Yeah. And Wreak Havoc in the same way does work off isolate. If they've got the dereact in hand, they block with a card. There's never an opportunity to get that second piece of block in there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a 6. It's a popper. I was running down and dirty in that spot.
Okay.
And I kind of, after losing to the local who plays Dromai near me, for the 12th time or something, I thought, well, we'll keep the popper, but maybe have something that's a bit more relevant into
other decks,
into more matchups. Right. Something that's not just three slots spent on Dromai.
Okay.
So it's not very exciting. But I think if you're on the offense, so a lot of the Guardians, Victor especially, is very defensive. Dash is difficult because you don't necessarily know what build they're going to be on, and I was actually caught out by that bringing in a Wreak Havoc and then being boosted at with these stupid 2 blocks in my deck. But so dash is a bit more difficult. But yeah, they're really controlling dashes again. It kind of works in that same way. Like if they're trying to Arsenal an unmovable, it's a pretty sick 1-2 punch to have.
That's true, definitely.
Yeah, it has a place, but I certainly won't tell you it's a good card.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I would imagine it's definitely a card that a lot of people are gonna go like, "What is that? I've never seen that anywhere." Just because
always a reader. Yeah,
Outsiders was almost a year ago, and that's like the reaction you got from people when you played Levia like a year ago or so. Frequently people were like reading every single card that you put down just because they've never seen them before, and you just go like, ignore the text only punishes me. You only care about the number, the rest is irrelevant for you.
It's 7 power, it's a downside, don't worry about it.
Yeah, basically the rest is just the downside. And then I think Wreak Havoc probably gets a lot of the same reactions where people just go like, oh, that's interesting, I don't think I've ever seen that card. But okay, and I get the reasoning behind it. Like if you want to tech specifically for like Guardian or Turtle Dash, the inclusion makes sense just because it's another one of those cards that says I get to push damage on them.
Yep.
And there's not a lot they can do about it. And it kind of makes their plays less efficient than they would normally be. So you just get to push extra damage. And
just one that keeps them from being able to get comfortable, right, with that, like...
Yeah.
Block a card, send the that kind of like play pattern. You can keep them off of it a lot easier with 6.
All right,
no DB cards in your deck. Yeah,
it's sort of like, I would say, like, because normally, right, if you want to take more for aggressive decks, you would run something like, again, Humble, Raise Face, right, in that spot probably. But actually, if you want to take for defensive decks, you can run either more extenders like Hurl, or you can run this, actually. That kind of makes sense, right? Because it gets around the D-reacts, and at the same time, like, Hurl is also run as an anti-draw my card, and this is also sort of an anti-draw my card because it's a popper. So yeah, okay, I get the reasoning behind it, but yeah. Like, I still wouldn't expect a card to perform miracles. Yeah, that's probably fair.
It's definitely not. Yeah, it's not going to like perform. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's like a role player that kind of feeds into it, the overall game plan. But yeah, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's not going to shove 3 Red Habits in your deck and suddenly you can't lose to Bravo or Dash.
Yeah, no. But I get the lines of reasoning behind why you included it. Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense. All right, and I think. Yeah, so we have one more card here that could reasonably be described as offensive or at least disruptive, which is Warmongers. And that's also a card that's kind of like, I would say, contested in Uzuri. I'm personally not a big fan of it, but my mindset is mostly redline Uzuri when I'm talking about Uzuri, right?
I think if you're on this more blue list, there's almost, other than it's just stupidly expensive for the card, there's almost no reason to omit it because it's it's like kind of the problem with the card in general. I guess it's such a low opportunity cost to put it in your deck.
It really
you want to block 3, you want to play blues, and sometimes it can just be an absolute game changer.
It can just be like one card. Yeah, it can just be a turn skip into like Azalea, right?
Azalea, the Runeblade,
Runeblade.
Azalea is the main one. You get some weird other like scenarios as well. Like I played one on a turn 0 against the Bravo, or like something to do, just so they couldn't dominate me on their turn. Like a bit of a corner case, but it again, it kind of like has a.
It comes up occasionally,
Yeah, it comes up more than you might think. It's not just like if it's not Azalea, it's a dead card. There are several decks that do want to do. Multiple different types of action, and just shutting it down can get you enough breathing room. Particularly, like if it was another blue stealth, I guess would be the kind of the other card you might think to include to support looking for scrap better. It doesn't. That still won't kind of make your hand. You're not turning your hand with no action into a hand with action with one of those. So it's a card that can sometimes be kind of action, or at least kind of just stop the action entirely long enough for you to find something. I often find that's the problem with Uzuri is your bad hands are awful because they're like 2 shreds, a backstab, and a and a D-react or something.
This is at least a hand where you can comfortably block down to one card and go, I have a single card that still has some kind of impact on what my opponent
It does something. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And like it's almost irrelevant for Uzuri herself because like the only non-attack that you really want to run anyways is Codex of Frailty. And
definitely done that before. Warmongers for draw into your hand. The best bit of action you got is Codex, but yeah, you got an arsenal for a reason. You find something else to do and you move on. Yeah,
you rarely feel bad arsenaling a Codex, right? Like,
exactly.
It's fine. Like obviously you want to fire it off on the spot a lot of the time, but if you have to arsenal it, it's also fine typically. Like as long as you're not dead next turn, you're good to go. All right. So let's go over the defensive options a little bit. So we have 3 copies of Sink Below. Okay, that's like just standard. Then a single copy of Fate Facine, and then 2 each of Frailty Trap and Inertia Trap. And I'm assuming the Fate Facines had to sort of make space for the inclusion of more traps, right? And then also the Oasis Respite, of course.
So, I was on 3 Fate, no Inertia.
All right.
And Fate's like, it's fine. Like the opt can, obviously, like you can kind of get rid of a card that's not useful in that situation or in the matchup, and you can sometimes you get really lucky, and it's like just before your Codex turn, and you can kind of choose what you're gonna ponder into, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Sync's
better,
obviously much more better card. I don't think that's very very contentious. And the Frailty Trap's obviously great into a lot of the aggressive decks where they have kind of inbuilt go again and ninjas who want to send Kodachis at you, or anyone who's trying to do multiple things, often involving weapons, warriors, Kassai, all of that lot. And then Inertia Trap was the kind of the tech for KO, just because pretty much every turn you can expect him to do something that's buffed.
Yep.
And a lot of his like not absolutely insane turns, but a lot of the kind of connector turns are like 3 cards, send a big attack, arsenal. So just denying them that like 5-card hand on the next run is so powerful. You know, if you get them twice with the inertia trap, you've kind of bought yourself, well, you know, 6 value, or by the kind of standard metric of things, but it could be so much more just because their kind of power levels kind of exponential with the number of cards they got.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like a 5-card hand in any brute deck is like exponentially more scary than a 4-card hand. That's always been true. Like I think brute is one of the classes where you need to manage your arsenal the most, just because most brute decks run a ton of cards that really suck to arsenal.
Yeah.
Like basically every blue in any brute deck ever is just awful to arsenal, with like very, very few exceptions.
Are you an arsenaling beast within man, or
yeah? I mean, I've managed, like, sometimes you arsenal a beast within, and then the opponent plays a CNC, and
that's very great. Yeah,
you just laugh at them. That feels pretty good. But yeah, most of the times, like, there's a bunch of cards in the average brute deck that you don't really want to arsenal. So
yeah, for sure.
Choosing which cards you want to arsenal is very important for brute, and then if you can get them off that with inertia trap, and they don't get to arsenal one of their key pieces, that's obviously a lot of value, definitely, yeah. And then their next turn, if they just have no arsenal, is most likely going to be like, I don't know, 12 to maybe like 14, 15 damage or something, but that's kind of like the ceiling on it. They can't really go higher than that without having an arsenal or some really insane high roll blood rush, with maybe, again, like a beast within or something that effectively puts them at a 5-card hand. But
yeah,
most of the times, yeah. So that makes sense. So just like as an anti-KO tech. And then again, it's great into Kassai or Warrior in general, because they also almost always pump one of their attacks. So you always have a target for it. Victor does a lot of my token generation where they pump stuff. So it's good there. It's good into Bravo with Anathos. Just generally has a lot of applications. Can be decent into Azalea as well, although they can play around it if they have a Ponder lined up. But if they don't,
it's not insane. Like, yeah, it has its moments into Azalea. Like, yeah. Sometimes you kind of like
to line up, basically.
Yeah. Sometimes you do them a bit of a favor because they're like, oh, cool, now I get my card draw off Death Dealer. But like, I think you're pretty hungry for any source of stopping them from hurting you. So you still give it a go, and yeah, sometimes it can be pretty relevant.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, and then Oasis, I assume, is like mostly against Kano, or do you bring that into anyone else as well, just to play off of Tunic?
Yeah, so it's another sacrifice to the 10% Kano matchup or something. I bring it in versus Azalea, because my kind of expectation in that matchup is just any time that your cards let you stop them doing a bit of damage, you take it. And Oasis is potentially great with Tunic, but it's just another way to do that. So I've liked it there. I do bring it in versus Dorinthia specifically as well, just because it's kind of this like hedge against between the two builds, right? Like it's a card that can actually block a Decimator hit from getting you.
True. While also that's a good point. Yeah.
Also, and
it's still basically like a D-react against Stormblade. So
which doesn't, if you play it from your hand, still doesn't count for their that mechanic is where they get bonuses if you play stuff from hand.
True.
It's got places. Like it's again definitely one you could consider cutting if you were just kind of going the Kano matchup. Like you can probably find a more relevant card for Azalea and Dorinthia if you were that was just what you wanted to tech for specifically.
Just run like extra 2 copies of Fate Facine.
You could soften in for those Fate Facines.
Something like that would work probably. But yeah, if you're like saying I want to have at least a somewhat fighting chance into Kano, I guess this card makes, like, it's kind of the only thing you can play in that spot that really stops him if he doesn't play around it. So makes sense, yeah. Okay, and then down here we got a couple of attack reactions. So we got 6 copies of Shred. Shred's a great card. Mostly don't Arsenal Shred, I would say, is like the advice I would give.
The golden rule of Shred, yes.
Euro Uzuri players, like, you need to know when you can Arsenal this card, and most of the time you can't. But yeah, great card, helps you on hits, has extra synergy with Uzuri because you can apply it on an isolate or another stealth attack and then swap into generic and still shred the isolate. So yeah, just overall good. Then we've got the Concealed Blade, which we already talked about. You're just using that as like bringing a dagger back, and then otherwise it's just a +1. So it pushes a shakedown or an already dead above the breakpoint. Or if they're cheeky and they're just blocking out Leave No Witnesses with a single D-React, you can push over that. So lots of ways to use that. And then Spreading Plague, which is also a card that sometimes gets run, sometimes doesn't. And I think it makes sense in a more defensive build again, because you do need a way to push above those decks that just try to block you out, right? Like if you don't have the extenders to do that, or you don't run like the red shreds, you need some way to make sure that they eventually die. That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, no, I love Spreading Plague. It's been really good for me. It's kind of, yeah, like you say, it's almost this kind of yellow 1 for 4. Like you don't have to spend an action point on it. Like a lot of, so many decks that want to block you can always guarantee that they're going to sometimes throw some armor and 3-card block some of your big attacks, and being able to just massively punish them with a Spreading Plague is really like ends a lot of games. Like particularly because it's a yellow, same with the shreds where you're just often pitching them early.
Yep.
And then your late game is kind of this damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where you send a big attack and you're holding onto the Spreading Plague with your tunic up and you're thinking, I don't care what you do, I'm going to get you either way.
Like either you block and you take damage from the Spreading Plague, or you don't block and the attack hits you. So there's no good way to play around it. That's true.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a little bit safer to Arsenal than Shred, because like at worst you can just play it out for no value, but you can always get rid of it if you really need to. So
played a few Spreading Plagues for 0. You can also, if they don't block a Shakedown, you can also turn on Shakedown with it.
Oh, that's true, actually, yeah.
Which is a play I tried to make in the top 8 and then was unmovable immediately, which was sad, but that's life.
Right. It happens, yeah. But yeah, fair enough. Like that's definitely something you can do. All right. Okay, so that takes care of the entire deck. And again, like I said, it'll be down in the description of the video. So if you want to check this out, give it a whirl, feel free to do so. And that's, in fact, exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to take this deck and we're going to put it through its paces, basically. And we thought it would be interesting to maybe see a KO matchup, because that is something that is probably quite common at the moment and that you will encounter with somewhat of a frequency.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Just because KO is pretty good looking at the moment. And I think especially after the performance that Yuki put up at the Battle Hardened Hartford, a lot of people are going to try to, get on that deck. And so it's definitely something that you might run into. So let's see if we can find us a KO here. And then we can show you how that matchup looks like from the Uzuri's perspective. So considering, or let's say we do find one, how would you sideboard here? Like obviously no Lantern and only a single Nerf Scalpel, I would assume.
Yeah, I say the classic loadout. Yeah, you've got your kind of armor all set up pretty much already. Yeah. Right.
Flick, Tunic, Black Text, and Balance. That makes sense. And then for the deck, like what would you side out against KO here?
Like we don't want the Oasis just because you kind of don't have the capability of getting stuck with them at the wrong time.
Yep.
The Red Havoc, because as exciting as they are, time to go. Yeah, that's it.
Definitely.
Then I don't tend to run the Frailty Trap. Like Frailty Trap's great against the 2-claw brutes because it can be a 5 or even 6 value if you're you're lucky. But when he's only got the 1 arm, he's not as good at throwing it.
Yep.
And then generally it's the Already Dead is the last card to go.
Okay.
Just not necessarily the kind of hard, like game you're trying to play. I'd say like they've got a fridge and you could potentially get an extra point of value out of it or 2, I guess, if you got the Bone Breaker before they got the second might. But yeah, generally just looking for big on hits. Also early game, because of the Scowling Flesh Bag, you often can't swap into your attacks. So
right, yeah, okay.
You've kind of got to just send stuff face up to start with. So
Okay.
yeah, the already dead's not quite as threatening when they know not to block it with equipment.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So, but you would leave like 6 copies of Shred in over like siding out maybe the yellows and then just putting in already dead, just so you have like more attacks to push at them? Or is the Shred just generally, it has the pitch value and KO does tend to block to some extent because it's like a mid-range deck in most versions that you see?
Yeah, I'm pretty much like you said. Just comes down to the pitch value. It's kind of a very tight matchup, I'd say. So you don't ever want to have a hand of like the 4 reds, no stealth or something like that. So just minimizing that is it's the same true as well. You don't want to have a hand with no action. So I guess you could make either argument.
Right.
I've like just making sure you've got pitch available. You can always play a powerful codex with a blue shred that you can't with a already dead say. But
right. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
but yeah, it's definitely something you could potentially go either way on. Like the shreds, I wouldn't say had huge applications. Like you're pitching them, so late game when it does get down in the weeds, maybe you do get to keep 3 cards and the shred can kind of finish it for you. But by the same token, if you've got a big attack still in the deck, then an isolates might have the same kind of the same idea. So yeah, no, I've liked the shreds, but I think either one would be like yellow shred or red already dead would be pretty much for muchness.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So now the only 2 blocks we got left in the deck are the 2 copies of Looking for a Scrap, which makes sense just because it's so above rate. You just keep it in. And then obviously Codex of Frailty, because why would you ever cut Codex of Frailty? There's just no good reason to.
We've got to keep our 1 for 5s, our 1 for 8s, and our 0 for like 55s or whatever Codex works out to be.
Depends who you ask. Yeah. A couple people out there that are valuing the card very highly, let's put it that way. All right.
Wow, we're doing well.
Kassai, fair enough.
Kassai's also good.
Yep, works for me. What would you change in the sideboarding here? Probably like frailty traps obviously go in.
Yeah, that's it. I'd probably just put in the frailty traps and the already deads and just leave it. Just run it a bit high. All the cards in the deck look pretty good to me there. Like I don't know. Hey.
Okay.
Something's stuck around.
Let's just make sure they're fine with me recording them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just always like to do that.
Hey.
Okay. And then
so we can swap to the. It's not a huge difference. We can swap to the 2 nerve scalpels in the.
Let's do that.
Just get our value, It's
that's fair.
Important.
Yeah. Like Spider's Bite doesn't make a ton of sense here.
Yeah, they'll sure 3 nourishings.
They do have the nourishings, and occasionally they have like CNC. I've seen that in some lists, like 1 or 2 copies.
Probably just spend their turn CNCing. We're probably pretty happy.
Yeah,
just
that's fine.
Yeah.
So they let us go first. They're on the standard build, I would say. Brave Forge, Grains, Crown of Dominion, Valiant Dynamo, and they're on Hot Streak, which is interesting. All right. And our turn doesn't do a whole lot because they don't have an arsenal yet. And Shakedown, what do we do here?
So I'd probably just start by sending probably the Spider's Bite off of the Concealed Blade there.
Yep.
With the thought process, generally going to probably pitch the Shakedown as the other card, preserve that, get the CNC in Arsenal, and keep the Steve No Witness just hanging around.
Yep. Get that into Graveyard ASAP is definitely a good idea.
And we've buffed them out by getting the blue, so they're not even getting any Kassai value.
I mean, if they're blocking
unfortunately,
like this...
they're learning about they're learning about piercing on turn 0, so maybe this was a mistake.
Daggers are piercing.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Yep. All right.
every day's a school day.
I mean, that's not an interaction that comes up a lot. But I guess in this matchup, it should come up quite often. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, it's absolutely, yeah. So,
right. So they're blocking with the hit and run. Then we send the Nerve Scalpel, pitching Shakedown. Actually, Shakedown and Concealed Blade next to each other at the bottom of the deck is not a bad stack.
Yeah, absolutely,
because it's pretty solid.
We probably won't get a stealth in next. A
stealth will be there, kind of like.
Yeah, we probably do a blue, maybe. Well, we might hold the CNC for a couple of turns. So we've got Tunic, so we can do CNC, dagger CNC off one blue.
So, question is, nah, we don't send Leave No here because it's just like they block with one card and Valiant Dynamo, or do we just hold it?
I wouldn't. I'd hold it. Yeah, just pop the. We got our 2 cards for. For our no cards. Hopefully the game doesn't come to that, but if it does, we'll be glad we did it.
Fair enough.
Also, it looks like the hand's probably pretty awkward. Like if they're blocking with 2 blues, generally most of their turns are going to be powered off of a blue.
Okay, so this hand is kind of a little bit awkward, but I guess we can block with the Sync, cycle out the Death Touch, or we block with the Death Touch, because they will send like a dagger. They just start with a Nourishing. Okay, that works.
It does, yeah. So I would probably,
but I guess
just probably put the hunt and a Sync below on that one. I think.
Balance and Sync.
Yeah, just hold on to the 1 block on the Whisperers. Because I don't think there's any chance we're getting, or we could try and get the Sync in, just sending a kind of naked CNC, but we'll try and do a bit better than that.
Sure. And do we cycle out the Death Touch? I guess so, right?
Like the Death Touch we could get in Arsenal potentially.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
I might be tempted to cycle maybe like the Leave No Witnesses and hope for a blue, because worst case we'll pitch 2 cards to CNC.
Yep, that makes sense.
And if we get an Isolate, we can just Isolate Death Touch.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. That works. Yeah,
that works. Like, I like getting a Leave No Witnesses into Arsenal early, but to be fair, against Kassai, the card is a lot worse than it normally is.
Very medium.
Just because of Dynamos.
And like your daggers, like even the like most of the things are non-attacks, like it's the Orbiter class you'd really want. So
alright, so we go Nerve Scalpel, pitching Give and Take and Shred into CNC, right?
I'd probably just send Give and Take into CNC. I think the chances the Nerve Scalpel's really like...
Right, yeah, okay.
Because it's not going to stop a D-React on the CNC anyway, so it's only attack reactions, and that's like not a huge part of their deck.
That's true.
And we're going to have the Death Touch in perfectly in time to the Tunic. It's going to be beautiful.
That's pretty nice, yeah. If we can draw like an extender on that turn, that would be even better, but even if just blocking with 4 cards, if they just go, fuck it, no blocks here.
Yeah, or our 3 worst ones and getting picking our new Arsenal target. Perfect, yeah.
Pretty good. Okay, they're giving us a block
so
here.
they've got a Blade Runner. Maybe a red one.
Probably, yeah. Probably.
Oh, they're on the old Gold Crown, which is kind of interesting.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because like I think a lot of Kassai lists aren't even running Crown of Providence. I've seen a lot of them run Balance of Justice.
Sure. Yeah, Balance is the hot new thing.
Balance is nice, but it really doesn't do anything against Uzuri. And having that gold is really, really good.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's the nice thing for us though is that they can't just armor block this, right? Like they're gonna have to give us something.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But probably they just go like Brave Forge and a card and just call it a day, play out their 3-card hand.
Okay.
Or they let it hit. That's interesting.
They're blocking with the Arsenal for 3. Yeah, that's also fine.
One way to do it.
Oh, we got second league run 3.
Yeah, okay.
They got
maybe they had like the red Blade Runner and they just want to get extra yellows into Arsenal, right? Which also makes sense.
Yeah.
Not Arsenal, Graveyard, right? So they can get that gold generation going.
Oh. And we've drawn the no attacks because we're we're good at this. Yeah.
Fortunately,
but we can block all their stuff.
We're fine. We've got Leave No, right?
Yeah. No, the other cards are kind of mid. Like if we get to keep a blue, we could preserve the Tunic counter and just go dagger into Death Touch.
Into Death Touch.
Yeah. But if we don't, it's fine too. We'll just use the tunic,
Yep.
probably Arsenal are leaving a witness, and move on with our
That
day.
says
Yeah.
Iron Song Pride. Okay, that's
Ooh.
interesting. All
Is
right.
that an instant or?
Yeah, that's an instant. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of interesting.
Haven't seen that in Kassai. This is a spicy list that they're running, but that just means we have to block out here no matter what.
Well, yeah, and luckily we didn't draw any attacks, so we can.
Question is, how do we block here? Because they might have attack reactions, but Kassai typically doesn't run a lot of attack reactions that she can use on the first attack.
Yeah, I don't think we can play around it. Like, yeah, if it's got like reds or even blue, like overpower, like it's just gonna get us. I'd put one of the warmongers in and see what happens. I think
call it a day and then just see what they do. All right,
yeah,
fair enough. Okay, run through, fair enough. So
yeah,
and they pitch
a Heart
they've got
Heart of Finder. Oh my god,
got the value there. This is a very interesting list. Definitely,
Fatigue Kassai, yeah, they're gonna get us. Good thing we got those 2 cards at hand with those daggers turn 1. That's gonna be the whole game right there.
Probably, yeah. Okay, and now she's coming in for 5, so I'm thinking we just double block that with the spreading and warmongers. Or actually, we keep the warmongers maybe, and then, block with Leave No and spreading play, because it goes up to 6, but she can't really do anything here, because she has no more cards, so...
I'd probably keep the lead, just prioritize keeping an Arsenal going, rather than sending Dagger into Death Touch.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
that makes sense, alright.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, that makes sense, yeah. Just block for 6 here. And that takes care of the Iron Song Pride.
Does, yeah.
Because we didn't get a hit here. Alright. Okay, sure.
Okay.
And we just go Tunic into Death Touch because they don't have an Arsenal here.
An interesting way to play it, because, you know, up front there's more of a on-hit effect almost, rather than as a combat trick, which is how you usually see a card played, I think. Yeah.
I guess it was like making you block.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's kind of just
maybe they're expecting this to be a more like aggressive Uzuri list, because I think like I mean Ben's kind of, you know, I'd say put the standard for what people expect Uzuri to be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and still like one of the kind of bonuses Uzuri gets is that there are 2 kind of quite disparate lists that do okay. And yeah, you know you don't know which one they are until post sideboard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like arguably even 3, right? Like you have the aggro red line, then you have like the like your kind of build, or what Sebastian Kleiner ran like with his blue Uzuri list, right?
The blue,
more defensive and generally don't run as many extenders and 2 blocks. And then you have like the contract lists as well, which work on like this kind of different axis. Okay, they're giving us equipment pretty early into the game. I like that.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see that. Yeah. If we're just going to chew through the equipment, obviously,
but I mean,
around to the end of the time. But
this is one of the few decks where Death Touch has an actual like really punishing on hit, because Frailty is really massive into Kassai. So
yeah, no, for
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so we got Inertia Trap, double Shred. And I mean, that's not so bad. We can use the Inertia Trap, one of the shreds. Then we send a Leave No. We can shred it if they block. And then we isolate. We arsenally isolate. That's not so bad.
Yeah, a little bit awkward that if we do get them with an Inertia, we won't be able to Leave No anything.
True.
So yeah,
that is true, yeah. So I'm thinking we just don't block this, like Hot Streak. Or do you put a shred in front here?
No, I think the Kassai has kind of cemented herself as just being this, like, every turn is going to be a run through or a Blade Runner. You know, maybe they'll surprise us and we'll play later. But I think leaving this unblocked for now is absolutely fine. And then we've got all our resources for what they're actually trying to do, you know, and see what happens.
Yep,
I mean, you know, worst case we have got this Inertia Trap, so we can still respond to if it's just like pump, you know, something massive.
Yep. True.
And they pitched the yellow, so like, unless their players just pass and get a vigor, like we're probably pretty okay.
Yeah, okay, they got the Blade Runner, sure.
Yep.
But that probably means that they have to pitch their last card just to attack with the Saber.
I would say so. Yeah.
Right. And they don't have an arsenal anyway, so it doesn't really matter in this
Yeah,
spot.
yeah. In which case, it might be nice to just keep hold of try and get the inertia trap as our
Arsenal
card
target,
in Arsenal.
absolutely,
Yeah, that's it.
So I'd say we just, in that case, we block with the isolate and the blue shred in this instant, just because the yellow does more.
Yeah, I like having the yellow instead. It'll be
Yep.
We can consider our options whether we want to, is it better to send the dagger off that yellow or save it for blocks.
Yep.
They have been playing it pretty defensively, I'd say.
Yeah.
But given that there's no, it'd be milling them one would be the on hit. I might be tempted to kind of keep the cards, get one damage in, and
right, like because there's a decent chance that they're just not gonna block this.
Well, they might no block it, which would be the worst possibility. They might. I think more likely they probably will block it with a card and a dynamo.
But so what do you think? Like we
I'd
shred?
I'd take the coward's play probably. Just send the scalpel, then send the leave no witness, and then Arsenal the D-react.
I think that's probably the all-around safer play, and it preserves the shred.
Yeah, for when it's really powerful, right at the end, getting 3 damage and a mill now. Well, nice isn't.
In case they do actually want to. What was that? Oh, take it on the chin. Okay,
take it on
nice,
chin,
nice. Yeah. Get the agility there. That's pretty nice. Okay, so we send the leave no next. I always like this is looking like a very good setup for a codex. We have Command and Conquer, we have Death Touch, and we have Leave No in Arsenal in Graveyard before we see our first codex. That's very good. And they give us Raise an Army. Okay, that's interesting. All right, sure.
Yeah, I think it was kind of with the because the taking on the chin that continues out the turn, right? Like it's just always on.
They're starting their gold train here, so this is a turn where we definitely need to block. Fortunately, we have a hand that does little else but blocking. So
yeah, I mean we're going to be sending. I think we're trying to get this sink delay down just to try and fix the hand.
100%, yeah.
Which is, and this is a weakness of going above that 60. It's that kind of tight consistency that you have otherwise is lost. Yeah.
So we start with the sink. And then just see where it goes, or what's the idea? What do you think?
Yeah, so because
it's kind of wasted, I guess. But or we just go with the frailty trap here, and then if they do their typical like Blade Runner into second attack or something, we can go above.
I mean they've got the go again already, so I'd kind of expect this to be maybe they're like fishing for a vigor almost like.
Yep.
Send both swords, just hope one hits.
I think we're going with Frailty Trap here, and then let's just see what they do. If they pump it, we can still do a sink.
Yeah, we've got two D-Reacts. We've got D-Reacts to spare at this point, yeah.
Yep. And if they just send a Naked Sword, then we just go sink, and that's fine, I think.
Okay, all right. Well, that's down to that one.
Okay, Blade Runner, sure.
Blade Runner's perfect. That gives us something to do.
Yep. Pretty good. And that means they will come in for 3 because it's a yellow Blade Runner. Okay, sure.
Frailty,
yeah, but that's okay. Like we wasted 1 value on the sink and 1 on the frailty trap in theory, but that's fine. Kind of an unfortunate hand right here, but if we draw into a shakedown now, for example, that would be pretty massive. So
yeah, even the blue, so we can do like some kind of daggering. That'd be nice, just something to shakedown.
There we go.
That's pretty good cards.
I called it.
So you got the cards won't come if you don't call them.
That's how it is.
That's Fab 101. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So
I would say it was a fairly determined turn for us.
Yep. They don't have a lot of armor left, and they don't have an arsenal, so this is almost certainly going to connect. And I would assume
they could have a D-React in hand to stop us, but
I mean,
you can't not go for it, right? Like
they can go D-React on after the shakedown results.
Post swap, yeah.
That is the thing, yes. Unfortunately,
I expect they'll go cards, Dynamo, pass.
Probably, yeah.
And then we have to name a color, which is interesting. I think Kassai runs a fair bit lower on blues than most warrior decks do because of the constraint of her ability.
Yeah, 15-ish blues is like the typical count.
Yeah. So again, I would kind of take the coward's play of just naming red.
Yeah,
both,
I think that's
for
probably smart.
Power level and just consistency of actually hitting.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I guess if they go Dynamo plus card, they could also have another take it on the chin, which would then we'd have to decide if we're going to flick to get our hit.
True.
It's an exciting time. Right.
Well, yeah, let's see.
Let's
Let's see what they do.
Yep. Yeah, so I think they should let it resolve because if it's CNC, they don't really care about 2 damage.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they can still play take it on the chin after, right? Like unless
exactly. Even if it's CNC, if they just wanted to.
Oh, they have a springboard somersault. Okay, that's interesting.
For 2.
Do we flick here, or is that too early?
Well, we've pitched one of our concealed blades, so there's only one in the kind of immediate future that we could look to.
And they only have a 2-card hand left.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think we just let them
again.
have
Just always playing scared.
I think we'll just let them have this one. That's fine. And then just see what happens. All right. We got looking for a scrap. Unfortunately, not a blue in the bin yet that we can use it on.
We've drawn one
we've drawn one.
to make use of that. Yeah,
that's actually perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's just block with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
not the best hand overall, but maybe we can sink and then switch out the shred.
Dying. Interesting.
Okay, sure. They're going with that. That works. Yeah, I'm just blocking here.
Yep. Just like send that backstab to the grave.
If they have shift here, it's a little bit anti-value, but
it still won't hit. So that's the worst case. Yeah, that's the worst case.
That's kind of the worst case. Yeah, fair enough. But okay, whatever.
We still might be able to. No, probably not. I was going to say we might be able to get some value with our inertia, but it's unlikely they'll pump and retain a card, I suppose, with their one resource. Yeah.
Okay, so they're coming in with the hot streak here, and they can pump that one. So that's kind of like, this is kind of weird because I think we just pass here and then
I mean, it might just be time to use inertia trap as a 3-block. Like, if they're just not going to Arsenal anything, then so be it.
Just see what they do. If they Okay, so do we sink here first? I think we sink here. Sink the shred.
And there's not loads of things we could, best to be like a leave no witness, obviously, but I think that's reasonable. Yeah, we'll preserve our shreds, try and win the game with them later on.
Yep. And then if they have a pump here,
we could draw. There we go.
That's not bad.
Yeah, perfect.
That's pretty good. Like bottom, they're looking for a scrap, just come in for 7.
Yeah. Looking scrap will still be good. Later, we've got the one in the graveyard. The second looking scrap we draw will always be on, and then we know this one's coming super late, so like we can definitely find a dagger or something to put in there by then.
Pretty solid, yeah. So we just come in for 7 here.
Yeah.
And they didn't Arsenal actually. Interesting.
No, yeah, they've. Oh right, yeah, they had a card in hand. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I wonder what card is so awkward that they don't want to Arsenal. Maybe
or they just doing the typical don't Arsenal cards against Uzuri thing, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a legal play. You definitely are allowed to do that. I mean they've taken 2 damage so far, so they're doing all right.
Definitely, yeah.
They're doing all right.
Okay, raise an army again.
Okay,
I guess they're not looking to. They're not looking to raise an army here.
The chance of an army being raised is reduced, yeah.
And a Brave Forge on the vanilla E-Strike. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting block.
They're just really looking to preserve their life, I suppose. Okay, we got Isolate Surgical. That's not the worst.
Yep, we'll try and hold on to that. And if we get that second stab in the bit, we know we're covered.
This runs on me. Interesting.
Okay.
Another Isolate.
I've not had it played against me before. That doesn't affect a swapped card, correct? It's only.
No, it does. It does.
It does. It's anything that's attacking, not
generally
when
any
attacks.
Attack,
Yeah. Okay. I mean, looks like dagger's pretty bad. That's
It does.
like if they're going to give us a big hand, that'd be pretty awkward.
Okay, they're activating Kassai here
Okay,
again.
it looks like they're planning to do things.
Yep.
Could be a nourishing, I suppose. That'd be the worst case. Oh, we got
Nah,
DB
they're
action.
just coming in
We'll be fine.
with the hot streak here. So we do
Nice.
have the D-React. I'm thinking we block with the Warmongers just to not give them the free go again here. They probably still have it, but
Yeah. No,
just kind of like make them
force them to use it. Yeah,
make them
yeah.
have it here. So
Yeah, we've got no use for this extra
Yep.
blue in our hand of 4 blues. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
so
it's best spent here
kinda-
with our
kinda
for 2
reasonable,
life.
okay, sure. They're just passing. Okay.
Oh, they did. They just gave us loads of cards and nothing to do with it.
Huh.
How bloody dare they?
Interesting. Yeah, so we can't dagger here.
I mean, we can because we can cycle out some of these blues.
I kind of feel like we need to, right?
Yeah. No, these cards kind of. I'll probably keep the 1 blue isolate.
Yep.
Yeah, just send one of the daggers in for 0. You know, spook them out. Yeah. To be honest, we'll probably be left holding this this surgical as well.
Yep.
I would have thought because I imagine they are going to.
This puts 3 stealth cards on the bottom of our deck too. That's kind of.
Well, I think the isolate they're going to block 1 and 3, so we probably won't swap anyway. Like, yeah, that'd be my guess.
Fair enough. They can't block 1 and 3 though, because they don't have.
Oh, that doesn't have a thing.
don't
We still
have
can't swap if they do
don't
3
have
though,
the-
because it'll be a 3, right?
Yeah, we can block now.
No,
we can
because
swap.
it's a 3, right? When it's because of the effect.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, true. It doesn't do anything. Yeah. So I guess we just pass here.
Yeah, we just hold them to our cards.
Just
Yeah,
get
they
the
had a
isolate into the bin, so we have the second blue stealth.
not sad to see blood. Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, not sad to see blood on the hands go as well. One of the copies of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Double surgical. Okay, Gork Tome. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. Just it basically says draw a card and gain 2 resources in Kassai.
Yeah, it's a pretty good card. Yeah, I mean it's awkward in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
If you draw 2 cards of that card,
It's
you're
the
doing well.
old Briar mirror, like who plays their Gork Tome first.
He who tomes first.
Yeah.
Tomes first. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
All right.
run.
Go again the hard way. Yeah.
If it works, right? Sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's that's why they run it blue, you know, just in case.
Okay, probably coming in with the saber here, and I'm thinking we just go frailty trap, and then maybe we try to get them on the inertia trap because we have to get a codex pretty soon. Ooh, commanding performance. Okay.
Off a red as well. It's I know they can swing for free, but yeah, kind of awkward. Keeping those blade flurries in deck. Yeah.
I mean that makes sense. Okay, so that's coming in for 5. So I'm thinking we just go frailty trap and inertia trap because they do have the. Oh, they don't have the Kassai effect online, right? They didn't have the yellows to.
No, so they can bring the other sword after this, kind of no matter what. So we could just do. We could just do frailty for effective block 5 at this point.
Yeah, or we just
leave
go inertia because, like, I mean, there's no hit effect on this right now.
Yeah.
So we just do the inertia trap here, and then
frailty. Inertia take 4, and or we could.
We just take 2 if we inertia here, right?
Yeah, they'll just send the hot streak after this, I think.
Yeah, and then we use frailty trap on that. Like, it's a little inefficient, or we just block with like one of the 2 surgicals on the hot streak.
I'd kind of be tempted to just use frailty trap this turn. I know they've got the arsenal, we can kind of get them, but just thinking a bit more as like a D-react we have access to, and then between our tunic and our blue, we can just send like.
I just want to get the inertia trap out of arsenal because I feel a codex coming up. You know what I mean?
Well, that'd be okay because they're always going to attack us every turn. Like even if it's not for value, we can get rid of it.
That's fair.
Like on their turn.
That's true.
I just think we want to, given the way they're playing this game, we probably want to get into the, but like getting some daggers in for like two damage where we can off a blue.
Yeah, okay.
Just to try and get something happening. Like they probably will fatigue us if it's going to go that way.
That's fair.
Yeah. I guess it could be something like second swing, something like that. They're holding in Arsenal, so it might be like
could be.
Get us for trying to inertia trap them.
Okay, so 1 damage. I think we just take that.
We'll have 1 damage. Yeah.
At this point, that's
fine. We'll try it. We'll try and turn this into a more of a
in the swing. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking we do use the inertia trap here, right?
Just get our 3 life. Would you just leave the Arsenal open at that point then? Like, just send the 2 daggers?
I think so, yeah. Just.
I like that. Even if they do block, because they're going to get their feet back up, so we're probably not getting this surgical. Yeah, that sounds good. Give them the suite of tokens.
Yep. Like, it doesn't do anything here, but
like,
I don't feel like taking 4 damage here either, so.
No, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's kind of not worth it, I think.
No vigor value for them, though.
Yep. Okay, so we just go Spider's Bite.
Yeah, kind of sad to be using the tunic when we're like building for expecting the codexes to all come at once, but yeah, I think it's just kind of where this game's at.
That's actually a good point. Like, do we use tunic here, or do we keep it up expecting the codex? Like, that's a decent question.
It just the way this game's going, it just seems like we've got so much time. Like, they're playing it very, very defensive. So like,
true. Yeah.
We don't need to rush our codex out. Like we can build up a tunic again and go, or we can wait till we've got like 2 blues for dagger.
I mean, they're
CNC,
blocking like Spider's Bite. Like,
yeah, I mean they are all in on on blocking. Yeah,
definitely.
Which is fair. Maybe that's what they think. I know Ollie considered this like a pretty good matchup. So maybe the Kassai tech is you just try and fatigue.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. In which case, we will. We'll preserve our cards as best we can and
just
get daggers in. Yeah,
dagger. Just dagger into
death. Yeah, the old control dash plan. Just send in the daggers.
What can you do? Okay, so that is absurd, because at that rate they're the ones that are fatiguing, right?
Yeah, it's tough to do. Like I'm guessing this means they might have like an all red hand, something like that, but
could be. Fair enough.
Yeah. It's a tough way to do it, definitely.
Like, the all red hands for Kassai are definitely kind of like not that great. Okay, so we just Arsenal the surgical here.
Yeah, I like surgical and Arsenal fine. Yep. Like, it's one of the few cards it's really worth keeping a shred for. Because it's just there's no way they're not.
Codex.
Oh man, all our good cards as well. Like, but they can't do anything, so that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, they just Arsenal stuff. So I guess the question here is, like, do we send the surgical so we can Arsenal the codex, or do we isolate CNC with Spider?
What I would probably do, given how the game's been going, is I would send dagger surgical off of isolate CNC codex, holding the shred to potentially try and get a hit with the surgical, or just to Arsenal if they don't. Like we'll use this. We'll get our codex eventually, but like we don't have to do it now. Like, this game's going on forever.
Okay. Makes sense, yeah. But so we have to go. Yeah, okay. So we just go like Spider's Bite. Yeah, that's fair. Like, we need to preserve. We put a threat on the bottom. We put a codex.
Yeah, like, I don't want to spend the CNC like.
Yeah, no.
No, like, yeah, we got one in the grave for codexes.
Not if they have a 5-card hand that potentially has like a. A D-react in Arsenal here. Actually, that would be irrelevant against the
CNC would trump that. Yeah, so maybe that was like a reason to consider that if we think that they kept a D-react just to do that.
But that's a matchup where, like, the way this game is going, this is a match where I would feel very comfortable arsenaling shreds, because they're blocking like every single turn. They're blocking.
Early in the video, like, never Arsenal shred, and I was like, right, Cool. Shred and Arsenal. Perfect. Just the card we wanted. I mean, that's the kind of card Shred is, right? Like, it's either like the card you're most happy to see or least happy to see.
Mm-hmm. They're using a sink below on a nerf scalpel. Wow, this is
wow.
So their hand is either like absolute hot garbage.
I mean, they're going to beat this our surgical into shred play by just having nothing in hand by the time we surgical them. It's going to be some next level stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. Because they don't have dynamos up right
now.
No,
yeah, that's it. So they can either give us 2 cards. They could sack off the grains, I suppose. Like,
probably not going to happen.
I'd be surprised, but
yeah,
I was also surprised to see Sink Below on Nerf Scalpel. So it's
true.
It's a learning process all over.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, I guess they do have another sink.
This is like a sink, which would be
no, they don't have a sink. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I guess we're taking Spoils of War here, because like, or do you want to go for the silver?
Well, I mean, they can't really use that spoils, right? Like, if we take spoils,
yeah, true.
Like, if we take the blue, they're like, I mean, it's a good card, so you could take it on the grounds that like,
it prevents copper generation, which is generally
from their deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible the last card they have is like a Blade Runner, right? And they can do.
We actually we did get a spoils from the top. So if we take the other spoils here.
Well, it seems although we do get a silver if we take the blue, we could build up for a Dying Black text back. Let's just take the power. Let's just take the good card away from their deck and try and just reduce it. I mean, these cards are 3 cards that are also great to have all in the same kind of hand as well. So that's really nice.
There's the other codex. There we go.
Right, well now we've got to force them to block. So we shall see.
Oh, this is a weird ass hand, man.
Yep. Yeah.
That is definitely a weird hand. All right, I think, but this is the hand where we just kind of like make him block and then Arsenal the codex, right? So, okay. We got a hot streak coming our way.
Probably just leave it. If they really want to do something with it, we could potentially
inertia trap, yeah.
Yeah, got inertia trap as a backup, but like it feels like one of those turns where our resources are pretty well constrained, so we probably would like even if we're pitching this inertia trap, like that's gonna have some value for us.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's go. They do have the Blade Runner. They do have the go again. All right, sure. Yeah, I think we're just taking this.
Yeah, we can trade the inertia trap for the
follow up.
The saber. Yeah, just save 1 more life from that. Another loss of a loss of value on the inertia, but yeah, it's all right. That's all good. Anyway, it's definitely not how this matchup's gone in my experience. Like they're playing it in a very different way, which is always interesting. So yeah, the kind of value of a lot of
hang on. Do we even do that here? Or do we pitch it to give and take and then send the isolate? Because we really need to get them to block to clear the thread?
I mean, I think it's all right. Like if we put another codex on the bottom of our deck like, pitching, then
I think we just go isolate. Oh, actually, what we can do is we do isolate. If they block it, we shred. We swap into give and take, and then play the codex.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any resources at that point, right?
That's kind of the issue. Like we want to get.
We won't get
probably
CNC,
want to get not even a CNC because they don't have any attacks in their graveyard.
Oh, true.
I think we just want to get death. We just want to get death touch.
Yeah, death touch. So yeah, we want to do that on the blue. But this is what I mean. Like we just don't have to use this.
We just arsenal the codex.
Or we just pitch it, right? Like you could. Yeah, we'll see what they do.
I mean, we could pitch it to a dagger here.
Like if they don't block, we could swap into give and take and then just send a dagger, right?
Yep. True. That's also an option, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of pathetic, but that's how we're living right now.
Sometimes that Uzuri just gives you hands that don't really do anything. So.
Aha!
But our opponent is giving us the block here, and I think they're thinking about also blocking with the dynamos. Yeah. Okay. So they're giving us dynamo value. That's fine. So we do shred. The Blade Runner, obviously. So do we swap into Give and Take here for 1 damage, or do we just not care? Is that not worth it? I think it's not really worth it.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth the cards. Like we want to get more value out of a card than 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say we just Arsenal the Codex here, and then we're good to go, and we can see.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate how his hand came up that like Shred was never like, even though they're kind of all in on blocking, it just never really had a target.
Just had to play it out like this, but
what can
you do? It's Uzuri. Sometimes it happens. Right. Arsenal this.
So yeah, nice. So by getting the blue, we could also we can do Give and Take, Dagger, Codex, Death Touch, something like that. Would be pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of awkward because these are all cards with rather Spreading Plate's definitely one I'd be happier not to block with. Like I'd rather preserve in deck for a kind of finishing blow. All right.
And they do have nourishing here. Okay, I think they just get the value here.
No, yeah. We don't have any D-reacts around. I'd really loathe to, obviously it'd be all of our good equipment.
What do we block with here? That's kind of the question.
So we can either have a bigger turn by keeping the Give and Take. So we can go Dagger, Give and Take, Death Touch, or we can pitch the Shakedown for a late game. I think we've been doing pretty well at pitching powerful cards for later.
Yep.
So I'd probably be tempted to have a bit of a bigger turn, even though they are going to have more cards to block it with.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, they're going to have a 6-card hand, right? That's kind of nasty. So
maybe we block with the Give and Take. We send the Dagger off the Spreading Plague, and then we backstab with the possibility of trading into Shakedown, trying to take their best card.
Okay. With Black
and if they just
that's an option. Right? We can Black Text and then into a Codex.
Yeah.
If they really want to keep the big hand, so I'm tempted to block with Black Text here. Actually, just for the value. Or we leave it up.
No, I like that. Yeah, because what we can also do is we just send Shakedown off the blue, hold up Black Text or Spreading Plague, or and we still got that 1 resource.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so we just block with Give and Take,
and the old
Black
Whisperers,
Text, and then
the sad 4 block on the.
What can you do? I'm not giving them Flick Knives and Tunic here.
We need to win this game somehow. So
absolutely, yeah.
But we can't do that. Yeah, stuff. It's one of the strengths of Kassai. Nourishing's pretty powerful. It's kind of interesting, in this style of game, if you're using all your cards to block daggers and stuff, that's not as
So I guess we just lead with the backstab, right? We pitch backstab to Shakedown, and then
just send the Shakedown out off the blue and see what happens. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Sure.
See how they want to play it.
See what they want to do. Yeah.
Because if we're really lucky, people playing around the shreds, I'll do the 3-card block.
I mean, they could be tempted because they just got the 6-card hand, and there's not that many ways that Kassai can convert a 6-card hand into damage.
If they can't use it, then might be
especially if they don't have any copper, they don't have anything. Okay, they're not blocking. That's interesting. I'm popping Black Text here.
Yeah,
if they have the D-React, I'm blowing.
If they've got unmovable, we haven't seen a huge D-React yet, only the little ones, so it seems pretty safe. I think it would have to literally be unmovable red or double.
If they have double sync, I'm fine with
double
that.
Sync, yeah.
Spreading Plague. They have Take It on the Chin, okay, whatever. That's fine. It's not a defending card, so that's actually kind of good for them here.
Right. So, do we want to flip to stop this?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on. Wait. Sorry. I skipped too fast. I think we do want to flick this, yeah.
I think so. We flick the no. So we let both resolve, and then we flick Spider's Bite, right?
Actually, that's more value. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Because Spider's Bite's kind of crap.
True. Yep.
Because you could block the one the way they've done it.
That's true.
They almost would have rather let their own get hit in the face. Where that card's called resolve first, but it's about the same value. So.
It's true. We let that resolve, and then we flick, right? Yeah, okay, that's better actually. Yeah, so we pass on the take it on the chin. Now we flick, right?
Yep, that should work.
Yep.
The eternal question of whether Talishard's like
sequencing people
gonna work with us.
We flick the.
So we could also consider spreading plaguing for 2 blood rots at this point, or we can just pitch it, send a dagger.
Yeah, I think we just dagger. I think that's more value. Yeah. Preserve the spreading plague.
Yeah.
Unless they have another D-react, in which case we can still use the spreading plague.
Yeah, that's our I guess our last resort kind of play.
For blood rot, yeah. Okay, sure. So that's not so bad. And
so we need to lean a bit on this second concealed blade now. That's going to be pretty important.
It's okay. I mean, we already like halfway through the deck, right? And we didn't block. We didn't block with any of them, so.
No, we'll see what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, what do we call here? Do we still call red? I think we call red.
I would still call red because I think most of their turns are going to hinge on at least one powerful red.
Okay, we got the last 3. We got the last spoils.
No spoils of war for you.
So that's pretty good. Okay, then I guess we dagger. We pitch this crap.
Yeah, that's it.
So we could actually get the CNC here to blow up their arsenal.
I mean, if they block this with the cards, then I think that's definitely our move. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty safe to say they don't have any more D-reacts because they would have spent them on that turn.
Absolutely,
so, if they've still got 2 cards in hand, the likelihood is they'll be able to block out a CNC. But, then they could also block out a Death Touch. So, I guess if one of them's an attack reaction, that's not even true. Let's go CNC. Fuck it.
CNC? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Maybe they're playing so conservative. They're like, no, I'll take this. Keep my D-react, keep that unmovable.
Yeah.
Don't want to spend that yet.
Could be. I don't know. So yeah, I think CNC to blow up the arsenal is just more value here because like frailty is still good, obviously, but their turn doesn't do that much with like a yellow run through Blade Runner. It's like coming in for 6 damage.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if we CNC them and they don't just double block, then. They just can't. Yeah, they just can't do it anyway. Like they're kind of out of options here.
Yep.
What nourishing! Terrible curve.
Actually, they can't block 6 because they have 2 attack reactions in hand, and they just let the nerf scalpel hit.
Do we know they've got attack reactions in hand?
Yeah. We saw from Shakedown they have. Run through, and Blade Runner.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Like they can only block for 4.
Yeah, 5 with the grains.
5 with the grains if they really want to give us that, but yeah.
That's that moment when you go to block 6 and then for some reason the computer says it's 4 and you're like, no.
Bad computer. But yeah, so they got their nourishing in for a 6-card hand, and then we got the crackback turn that leaks a bunch of damage and just completely obliterates everything. And we have a sensor, which is actually a pretty decent arsenal.
And we got Ironsong Pride from the arsenal.
Okay, also not bad. I'll take.
Is that the instant one?
That's the instant one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The all red hand.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, but I mean,
this is going to be a bit of a clunker. But
we just send the sensor, and we're good to go. I'd say. So hang on. Oh, they activate Kassai here. That's interesting. I guess they really want us to block. Fortunately, we have an all-red hand, so we don't mind blocking a bit.
I'll trade a card. So what's the worst card in my hand is the question.
I'd say already dead here.
Yeah, I was going to say it's either already dead or the second sensor.
Probably, but I would start with already dead. And that's the first one they've actually seen, I think. Yeah, so from now on, they're going to be
start mind games. Yeah, that's it.
Start the mind games here, so that's okay. And sure, they're going to swing with the hot streak here for 1. So I think we block this with the sensor.
And then send the other sensor back off the CNC. Keep the fate for scene.
Keep the fate for scene in Arsenal. Sounds pretty good.
Yep. Sounds great to me.
Yep. I mean, having to give cards, but I mean, we would have given cards here anyways because we can't really convert them to anything. So
Yeah, I mean, it's low enough damage that we could have almost considered keeping them to send the dagger back in front of this, like, and just preserve our kind of powerful threats. But preventing the gold, I think, is a worthy enough.
So let's see, how many Blade Runners have they already played? So they've played 1, 2, 3, and then in the banish pile they have one more.
Yeah, and all 3 run-throughs. So they've done...
So we've got 4 Blade Runners. No, wait. We've seen 4 here. And I think they pitched 1 or 2, so we probably have about 3 or 4 Blade Runners that are left in the deck.
Yeah, so that's... Yeah, over halfway, like 7 or so of the 12.
Yeah, so they have another Take It on the Chin.
Sure, yeah, I mean...
Our card is working out surprisingly well, I think.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah.
Pretty good.
The value of agility can be so high that, like, getting a 2-block, which kind of makes your agility guaranteed, is pretty sick.
Pretty solid. At least we don't have to worry about what to name here, so... Not the worst.
Yeah.
And we can do Isolate into Death Touch, which is pretty decent here.
Yeah, I'd probably be tempted to do, like, Give and Take Dagger, Leave No Witness, and then
that works
Arsenal
too. Arsenal the Death Touch, that works too.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So we got a Saber for 2 with no on-hits coming in. I think
the only card we really want to block with is Fate, and we'd rather get at least 3 value from it. So yeah, we can pass this. They might have like a Blade Flurry or whatever it's called to make it a 4, in which case we just snap it off. So.
And if they just swing Hot Streak for 2, okay, we just block with the Fate. Fair enough.
Yeah. Then we haven't lost anything. Yeah, we just got more information. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, if their last card is again that card that I've forgotten the name of again, the one that you can only play on the second attack.
Second Swing, fittingly.
No, isn't that the one that gives it Dominate or something?
No, Second Swing is the one that
in the swing,
right? That's
yeah.
I don't know what Second Swing. Second Swing
is like a Monarch draft card. I think it's like
it just pumps the second one. I think another Sensor. Do we want that?
Because we're going to arsenaling this Death Touch. I think we probably don't, because we've got our like end threat like kind of set up there.
Okay, they're undid. All right. I still want to do this. Oh, they have the glint here. Okay, sure, yeah. All right, that works. So they don't draw a card.
That's it?
Why are they playing the glint here? That makes no sense.
It gives it go again, but I don't think they have anything to do with it.
Okay, whatever. Sensor, I guess we bottom this because it doesn't really do anything for us.
Yeah, I think like it's another card. It's a red sprite. Like it's a kind of finisher type card that we want to preserve in our deck, but we don't want it next turn. I don't think. Yeah.
Okay, so we go Give and Take. Dagger, Leave No, right?
Yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah. Yep. Even though like it seems kind of bad value to not dagger initially, you'd like them blocking it.
You wouldn't dagger. You wouldn't want a dagger effect to go on the Give and Take. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Particularly because it's reaction specifically, which you're incentivized to block Give and Take with anyway.
Yep.
Are they giving us a Give and Take trigger? That would be very interesting in a kind of fatigue style gameplay.
I think they just noticed that.
Reread the card. Yeah, that's fair. That is very fair.
It's the old adage of reading the card explains the card.
I mean, Give and Take, it barely does. It's got so many words on it.
Okay, now we dagger. So, I mean, we're up in life and we're up in cards. So far this is going, I would say,
feeling all right
for us.
I mean, it's definitely an argument for if this is how Kassai's going to start playing, maybe you do on that scale, Peter. That would be a very big part of...
that would do a lot here, actually. If we had
a lot of work,
I mean, to be fair, they've been blocking out daggers left and right, so maybe it wouldn't do that much, but yeah.
Who could really say?
I mean, Leave No is doing realistically nothing except accelerating the fatigue, so...
I do like Leave No Witness for that, like, the temptation not to block it when you've got no Arsenal is great, and then
and we got a disround.
We'll take a card. Yeah, that's perfect.
Ooh, and a shred to push the Death Touch. That's kind of nice. Or we go looking for a scrap into Death Touch. That's also nice. Off of the shred. Or off of, let's see. We see what they do first.
Yeah, kind of building up for a big turn here. So I think we're going to have to cash in a bit of that life buffer we've been cultivating.
I'm definitely tempted not to block the hot streak here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to. If they're relying on us to give it go again, there's absolutely no reason to. Like, we'll make them use another card before we start committing to blocks.
Definitely, yeah. And they do have one more Raisin army left, but they have no gold whatsoever because we've been blocking that out. So that's not really doing anything. All right, and they need to for 8. That's wow.
That's a chunky hit. Yeah, I'd probably just put.
It's kind of chunky, yeah.
Probably just put the already dead in as a crappy 2-block. I think you were right. Like, the players looking to scrap into our Arsenal Death Touch and reset the new Death Touch in the Arsenal with the Tunic counter.
Off of the shred and then keep the cute Tunic up. Okay. I mean, there's an argument to be made to keep the shred for the Death Touch, but I think you're right. It's probably better.
Yeah, like if it's kind of getting to the point now, right, where if they're just trading 2 cards for our cards, then we're still doing pretty well. So like,
yeah, fair enough. All right, so we just block for 2 effectively here.
Yeah, negative 2. Take our 7.
Yeah, that's okay. They've equalized pretty well, but we are doing this here. And then we're banishing this isolate, I guess. Let's go.
Yeah, don't really matter, yeah.
Actually, you should probably go with the dagger first, because there's niche scenarios where you want to get an isolate back from the graveyard for like some kind of swap play, but we have a yellow one in there, so we're good either way.
Nice. Yeah,
I mean, I've done that.
You're right.
Grab an isolate off a codex is definitely something I've done. Like, it's not a proud moment.
Game going well. Yeah, it's like,
sometimes you have to.
It can't be 100% wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to do it that way. It's not nice, but okay. Pushing another 2.
Yeah.
Into Death Touch.
And I guess the kind of thing is they're building towards in a way is they've got these kind of overpowers and fatal engagements as their like end game. So their blues are all like still decent sized pumps as long as their whole hand can pay for it. You know, their whole hand's blue.
Maybe their plan is really just to pitch stack and then just turn on the gas in the late game. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, they had a big turn last turn, so I mean, you've got to think that getting rid of all the spoils is going to be a bit of a detriment there, but we'll see.
That was definitely kind of unfortunate, yeah. And they're out of the take it on the chin here.
Yeah, so we've made it past the take it on the chin.
That's it. And I still think we go with frailty here, right? Like, it's the same.
Yeah,
amount of damage.
I don't think there's any reason. Because
like Bloodrot and frailty does kind of the same, and this is like a fatigue matchup. So
yeah, and they might just they might just send the sword and then just pay for the blood rot, so it's not actually, it's kind of more of an inertia at that point. Like, I think. Okay,
that's an interesting hand. Like, if they let us keep this hand, we can just go E-Strike, Death Touch.
I hate doing E-Strike for go again. It feels so bad. It's like a lost value.
But I mean, that would be like 16 damage turn.
I think I'd probably we can block with the surgical and then just go E-Strike into Death Touch.
Arsenal the Codex. Sure, yeah, that works. So I'm definitely not blocking a Saber for 1.
We'll take 1 if that's what it is. Yeah, that's okay.
And they don't run a ton of front pumps, and we're at 21, so like no matter what they do here, it's not gonna.
And as we were saying, a lot of them are like dependent on how you block them as well. So if they want to overpower for 2 at this point, we'll take the beats.
Okay, they got the Blade Runner here.
They got a red, yeah.
And they get a Vigor. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that helps, yeah.
Absolutely, Vigor is always good. Like, I think a lot of the times what you do with the Vigor is you just kind of carry it over into the next turn.
It's just the self-propagating Vigor, yeah.
But it's still pretty solid. So I think we blocked this with the Surgical for 3, right?
Yeah, take our block on the Surgical.
Just do like E-Strike into Death Touch.
Yep, bottom another E-Strike. Keep that power for the late game.
Yep,
E-Strike's great.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Just having that guaranteed go again in the late game is very strong. Yeah,
very powerful. Or 2-card 7 less relevant against. But we're running her out of go again. Eventually, it'll just be 1 sword that we have to worry about.
True. And we still got plenty of shreds and stuff on the bottom.
Oh, our whole deck's
Block
shred at this point. Yeah, we're
block out the
Shred
hot
City.
streak,
Yeah,
so that's not so bad. Okay, so
Shred
go
City.
E-strike, go again. Just come in for 5.
Do they have any of the nourishings in the grave at this point?
I think not. So the third one is definitely still live. Yeah, we have to worry about that. They've
also just
that.
in terms of them getting another one off Codex, would probably rather they
didn't. Yeah, okay. No, they don't have any. It's coming at some point, but there's realistically not that much we can do about it. So
we've did preserve a couple of D-reacts. I think. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't.
Sure.
Definitely thinking about it at one point.
I don't think we did. Oh, they're giving us grains here. So we got sink. I know we've played the one fate.
Yeah, we got our fate. And we might both
have inertia and both frailty traps. Yeah, we out of D-react.
Okay,
so.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing we do. We'll just take him off another huge turn with a Codex turn. It's fine.
Yep.
It'll be chill.
We're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, they're blocking 5. Sure.
5. Yeah.
We tunic and then death touch. I just love death touch, man.
Death touch. Death
touch is my phone background.
Really?
Like it literally is. Yeah, death touch is actually my phone background. We still go with frailty.
Yeah, right? Just push the frailties. Yeah.
I think if they're at 8, we still push.
Well, particularly if they're taking this damage, like in kind of makes you think. Either they're doing nourishing reset arsenal, I suppose, would be the only.
Okay, we got double concealed blade.
It was so close to the bottom.
I don't hate that actually, because we can go shakedown into concealed blade. That's actually pretty decent. Still not blocking saber for 1.
No, we will take all the 1 sabers they want to send us off.
They did pitch the blade flurries. So that's coming back.
They've got those. Oh yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That's 3. Brings us to 16. Sure.
Interesting again. They've led with the saber, which lets us kind of attack block the second one without too much.
Yeah, it's kind of not that good, I think. Yeah. So question is, how do we do this? I'm thinking we maybe just block with already dead here. She's activating Kassai. Okay, that's smart. That's actually kind of smart. I mean, we have 2 options here. Like, we block, or we don't, and we give her the gold. That's a good question now. How do we do this? What we could do is actually attack with Nerve Scalpel. And then, assuming they don't block it, we conceal. No, it doesn't. It only.
No, it's not attacks, unfortunately.
It's not shred. Yeah. But I'm thinking we kind of have to block this, and I think then what we do is we overpitch for dagger, and then we just codex into CNC.
Yeah. We wouldn't be able to we'd have to keep a red and a blue at that point. Yeah, I see. So we put in already dead concealed blade on the blocks. Yeah. Oh, like that. Yep.
And then we bottom shakedown concealed blade, which again are 2 cards that are good
for
together.
The second time we'll pitch stack this.
What can we do?
Eventually
we'll get there.
Yeah.
Or they run out of cards before that, and it doesn't
also
matter,
possible.
So.
Yeah.
both are valid options here.
So have we not seen any? I've been through the deck now. We haven't seen any cash in from them.
No, I don't think they played cash in. They don't run cash in, which is interesting.
They're just turning off our balance of justice. They can.
Yeah.
You can see us trying to eke out some value, and they're off it.
Maybe. Could be. They don't actually have the nourishing. I'm just double checking to make sure, because that's definitely not a card I want to give them back here. But no nourishing in the graveyard. So we're good. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then
being nourished twice is plenty.
And I think do we actually we don't get command here because it doesn't really do anything. We just grab a death touch, right? I'd say we just grab another death touch.
We could get already dead to disincentivize them from doing 1 card Valiant Dynamo block.
Fair. Or just Death Touch.
Or just Death Touch because Death Touch sick. Yeah, let's go Death Touch.
think
Let's
we
not get
just go-
fancy. Yeah,
I
just
mean-
go for the good play.
Death Touch probably just gives us 2 cards here. And
Yeah. I think that's
depending
what's
on-
something no matter what. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So they need to block this, and then we either give them a Blood Rod. I think we're giving them a Blood Rod here, right? Because double Frailty feels like overkill. And if they're just taking 5 here, I'm definitely giving them Blood Rod. So.
Oh yeah. If they're going to 2, I mean, we'll we'll give them a 2 damage. Like,
Well,
lose the game if you don't deal with this kind of thing.
Probably giving us a card here, at least one.
I mean,
so.
the kind of flip side of them pitch stacking or having all these like late game attack reactions is Nerve Scalpel's just getting better and better. Like the quality of.
That's true. Yeah, there we go.
Whoa!
Yeah.
They meant to put Dynamo on that. That's like insane. Yeah.
Yeah, now give us Dynamo, then we're good. Yeah, okay, that works. Ooh, man, imagine if we had a spreading plague here. That would be pretty
It's
dope.
the dream. It's the dream. Yeah.
I'll leave no, I'll take it.
Leaves a nice Arsenal target. We'll
solid.
continue
And
with a couple of shreds to back it up. Yeah,
Pretty solid.
that sounds great. Yeah.
Definitely solid.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm
still
not blocking that. Thank you. Okay, so
Heart
they're
is
pitching a
the
heart
same.
now when they have 12 cards. So in 3 turns, we'll see that Heart of Final again. And they're just
That's it, yeah.
throwing back up. That's it. Okay.
So we will double pitch isolate for a Nerve Scalpel, then send the most shreddiest Leave No Witness you've ever seen. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Sounds good. Works for me.
Yeah, I mean, you could pitch one of the shreds, I suppose, and to set up isolate as your Arsenal target. I kind of feel like shreds is getting so powerful this late stage in the game that
100%.
having the yellow one just chilling in Arsenal is going to be pretty good for us.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Oh, they got the value here. Nice.
I mean, kind of like, do they really want to draw a card at this point? Sure,
Fair,
man, yeah.
Fair.
They got it. They got it.
Yeah, I'm not shredding that. That makes no sense. So.
Yeah. No, we don't.
Just,
we don't need one damage that badly.
Send a
yeah.
no, and we're good to go. And just see what they do.
Yeah. And even though they played that from Arsenal, still well worth shredding for a ninth of their deck. Like.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Pretty sick. Yeah.
It's interesting. Fatigue Kassai. Like that's not a direction I would have imagined that deck to go. To be honest.
No, I funny enough, my first round at the Battle Hardened was against the Kassai, and they definitely weren't playing. You know, with that as their primary objective, but just the kind of way we were trading cards is how it went down. And again, I'd had the same kind of board, so it just I had a few more cards in my deck. Like, you know, they had to block a few more in each of my attacks, and it kind of just about got me there. But
I mean, Warrior just kind of naturally lends itself to playing like a fatigue game, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, how much life have they gained off of Valiant Dynamo? Like,
yeah, okay,
10.
Not. Oh no, they got that all you got. Okay. So I think you just spend a blue shred here and then just
I'd cash in the blue shred for 2 damage at this point. Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good.
Or maybe they're doing
double that all you got.
Okay, we'll cash in a yellow shred for 1 damage and a card.
Yep. Sure.
Okay. They really wanted to know if this was all we had. They were like, they asked us 3 times.
This is secretly a Victor cosplay deck.
Ah, I see. Yes. No, I think they just got the wrong token, like the wrong majestic hero.
We got overpower, so we're arsenaling this. This is fine.
Nice.
There's the last looking for a scrap, and we got a tunic
great.
coming up, so that's pretty decent. Okay, interesting. Okay, they're making us block here.
Yep.
Because they kept a 3-card hand, or rather, they had a 3-card hand. All right. Fortunately, our hand blocks pretty well. Save it for 2. So do we give them the shred here? No, we don't. We just block with whatever backstab, I'd say, right? Or maybe isolate?
Maybe it's worth blocking backstab and we just send looking off the tunic into isolate, just as like keeping a shred in hand, just as kind of like a... Well, we're going to have to block. Like, there's no chance they activated Kassai with just 2 to send, right? So we'll see what we're left with. Yeah.
Yep. Fair. I mean, they could have the other blade flurry here, and then
they might do. Like, if they get 1 gold, yeah. Oh no, they didn't. They didn't like that.
They just redid. Okay. They start with hot streak. Okay,
well,
I guess
I mean, if you're going to do, we'll block with the shred. Like.
Then we block with the shred. That's
yeah.
Sorry, but what
No,
is
no. They just said they're going to see all of our hand at one card at a time.
it? Yeah, maybe they just don't have the go again enabler here. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
In which case, I guess we just go nerf scalpel,
yeah,
looking for a
dagger,
scrap,
scrap
and then
dominate 2. You know,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
if it
it's
gets a card.
representing lethal. Yeah,
they had the glint. Okay, that's fair.
and
the blade flurry.
Sorry,
Solid.
they're going all in. Yeah,
Solid. Okay, fair enough.
yeah, they make a gold, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't think we can play around.
At
That's the last
this
blade flurry,
point,
right?
I think we're good, and I don't think they actually have a Raisin army left. Even if they do, I think we can manage one guy.
Yeah, we'll just kill one guy and then pass our turn. Yeah, that's fine.
It should be okay. Okay, so this is coming in for 5, so I'm guessing we block with the backstab, or do we? Do we just take 5?
I don't think we're trading isolate backstab for enough to. I'd probably just block 6 here, and we'll just send them the sad looking for a scrap for 5. You know.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a codex coming up, right? So the isolate
clearing
the shred is actually kind of relevant, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. So at that point, would we rather send?
I think I'd rather send the nerf scalpel, to be honest, just to make
they're just less likely to block that. Is the thing with the isolate they might spend a card on.
Exactly. So I think I'm just
Well, you're just going to take the 5 and then all right, take the 5.
I think I just take the 5 here.
Take the 5, yeah.
Doesn't feel great, but yeah.
It makes sense. It does make sense.
Yeah, we need to force them to block at this moment because they're almost out of cards.
Yeah. And one of them doesn't block at all. It's just the Heart of Fyendel.
Exactly. And they're about to draw that up, I think.
Yeah, I think it's this hand, isn't it?
This hand, yeah. If I'm
particularly with the draw off of that what you got?
Yeah, the glint.
And glint, yeah, they definitely have it in hand now, yeah.
Okay, so we start with the looking for a scrap, then the dagger, or do we dagger first?
No, dagger first. I think if they're just trying to block numbers, right?
First,
yeah. So we're just trying to get them to lose a point of value. Yeah.
True. Okay,
sure.
They just block. That works. Sure.
Blood in the hands. Nothing better to do than.
I mean, we banished all of their copper generators, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, fair, yeah.
What can they do? Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't have the Outland Skirmish, right? So it literally was just the.
Yeah, that's literally just those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think.
I guess we should have considered shredding that just to clear the shred out. Even in this blocking matchup, shredding the Arsenal not been great.
Yeah.
I think it had lined up pretty poorly.
Oh, right, true, because they know we don't have a follow-up for the isolate, right? Okay,
I mean, if they're blocking Nerve Scalpel, they're probably blocking a random 2 as well, I would guess.
True, yeah,
we shall see. And if they don't, we've preserved a lot of reds. I think we've got a Sensor still knocking about, the Shakedown a few cards down. We'll find something that they have no option. But I guess we'd have to swap into the Sensor to use it there. But yeah,
I mean,
we'll make it work. We
got a bunch of isolates coming up, definitely. So
well, there's 2 reds in a little nook. Yeah,
but I mean, they're going to 4. This is getting into the we got isolate, CNC,
shred.
Arsenal, the Codex. We're good to go.
We'll be alright.
Okay, they're banishing a bunch of stuff.
They certainly are.
That's kind of unfortunate, but okay. Let me just do a quick count of their glints, actually. So they got 1 glint here, 1 glint here.
Yeah, all 3 there, yeah.
Where's the third one?
So right at the bottom, second card's in on the
glint
bottom.
Glint here. Where's the third? Glint here. Okay, so
in the middle,
we don't need to play around that anymore. Okay, sure. So they activated Kassai, coming in with Hot Streak. I think I'm not blocking that.
Yeah, I think the chances that they can kill us with no blocks to turn on their attack reactions is pretty low.
Yeah. I mean, they might have another Blade Runner or something, but I think they're running out of the Go Again ones. They do have another Blade Runner. Okay, sure. So we do give them the gold, but I think at this point, I just don't really care.
That's fine. Yeah, what are they going to draw?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that last card in the hand is going to be... Oh, it's Raising Army. I thought they had cards.
Okay, sure.
Okay, well, that's worse, yeah, but still fine.
It's okay. It's not the worst, I think. They're at 4. There's a reasonable chance we just kill them here.
I think they're kind of deterministically dead, aren't they? I slay into Command and Conquer with a flick of a dagger is going to be 4 over the top of their block, I think.
Yep. So they come in for 3. Do we block that? I don't think we block that. We just go dagger, isolate, Command and Conquer. What do you think? They can't attack with the cell swords anymore because they don't have resources.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I'd probably put the surgical in just to. You can still dagger off the codex. Like,
true. Yeah.
I think that the chances we don't win this turn are very slim. We probably could have been keeping better tabs on what they were pitching, but at least one of those cards is a Heart of Fiendel.
Yeah, that's true. And they only draw.
One of them's a hit and run blue. So
I think
we're going to be okay. Yeah.
I think we're fine. Yeah. So we just nerf Scalpel here with the Codex.
Yeah, make sure we attack Kassai.
Yeah, that Raisin army came a little bit too late to do anything.
I think. It was.
Okay, they're taking the dagger. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They don't want to give us. They have the springboard somersault. Okay.
The old springboard.
Sure. Block that shit. That's fine. So they have 2 blocking cards left. None of them is a Duriac.
They've got a blue hit and run, and they have one other card that we should probably know.
Heart of Fiendel.
Yeah, Heart of Fiendel is the third, right?
Hit and run and then something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's up and third card.
Probably should have paid attention to that, but
that's all right. We're too busy winning to pay attention to that shit. Yeah. Just the dynamo blocks. Interesting.
Okay, so they probably have a D-React.
Wow, whatever. Yeah, we'll just switch in with Uzuri on CNC and
if they
win the
react
game.
to it, we can still shred. So
yeah, we still got this shred, and if they don't react to it now, then it's all done for. Yeah. They might have another springboard, I guess. I know they played one earlier.
They do have another one, yeah.
Do you want to flick the dagger now just for maximum value?
I mean, the shred clears it. We're good, right? I think.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Go get our full shred value.
To 3, we go down to 1 again because this just blocks for 2. So
yeah. Well, even if we let that resolve and then flick the dagger, it's 4. So it
doesn't make any difference.
It's a done deal unless they can find something to pitch to, I guess. Even then.
Yeah. All right. And that's GG.
Well done. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Man, that was a slog, though. Like
yeah,
19 turns, man. And we spent over an hour in this. Why am I always getting the fatigue matches in these?
Yeah, you put a matchup up, looking for KO, you get fatigue Kassai.
Not what you're looking for, but nice. Okay, that was an interesting game for sure. I think you probably, like, if this is something that you encounter in the wild, you have to work on streamlining it a bit, because, like, this would obviously be a draw. Yeah. Like, we spent round about half the time, so it was pretty even. 36 minutes for us, and the whole game was 1:13, so they spent 36 minutes. So it's like both of our faults, I guess, for playing slow, but yeah,
it was a little bit of decision making by committee on our end, I suppose. So
yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. You could say go either way, and I suppose got two heads better than one, or like the kind of decision paralysis. But hopefully that's not the way that Kassai are trying to beat Uzuri. But
I think not. I don't think this is like the correct way to play into Uzuri, but I'm also not necessarily a Kassai main. I'm thinking about playing Kassai also because she looks pretty interesting, but
yeah, it's a cool deck.
It's definitely a fun deck that has a lot of like neat little interactions with stuff you can do, like dominating the nourishing 3 times per match is really cool. Like Raisin Army is a really cool anti-fatigue strategy. Blood on her hands is an insane power card if you can get it off. So she just has a lot of like very neat plays that you can make. So
yeah, a lot of above rate stuff. Like a lot of the cards just without too much effort, go above like that kind of 3 threshold, right? Like you just play a blade thrower and you've already got your 4, which on a 3 block card is mad. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, that was the Kassai matchup, how you would sideboard into that. Probably not how you should expect that to necessarily go, but it might end up that way, that you just run into fatigue. And then boarding boarding a little bit above 60 is definitely like a good hedge bet, I would say, against Warrior in general, probably.
And I think like the turn by turn, like when they were playing their like more, active turns, that's still how you'd want to play that, probably in a game, even if that's how they were planning to play every turn rather than having more like off turns and blocking. So depending on it, maybe that's the tech, maybe not, but hopefully you can kind of squeeze out enough value to get them either way.
Definitely interesting. So just as a quick thing, like we already saw the sideboarding here, is there anything that you would say is like really relevant sideboard info for other matchups, right? So what cards would you take out? Let's say for instance, you're going against a very aggressive deck. Like, what do you side out? I guess you side out your aces, right? You side out Wreak Havoc for sure.
Of course, Wreak Havoc spends most of its life in the sideboard where it belongs.
I can imagine, that probably doesn't do a whole lot. That's like 5 cards gone from the 70, and then I assume you also take out the Already Dead.
Yeah, the Already Dead mostly stay out. Only come in. Like, usually they kind of come in to take the deck above 60, there's that kind of matchup where you want more cards and more power. The only one where that's not true would be Dromai, where you just want the percentage of your deck to have the 6 power. So, but like usually your kind of basic deck is all the classic standbys, and then you've got this kind of suite of defense reactions. The 3 sinks, the fate. Then you want the frailties or the inertia, depending on the kind of the mode of the aggro deck. Oasis usually out very, it's got a few select matchups. Wreak Havoc got very few select matchups, and then Already Dead just for the more controlling ones, or like that Kassai build, where maybe you want to hedge a little bit, or there's that specific piece of equipment that you're trying to kind of snipe with it.
Yeah, like it can come up, right? Sometimes you can just they block and isolate with their boots just to get value, and then the boots are just gone. Like it won't happen every game. It probably won't even happen every other game, but occasionally it happens, and it'll definitely feel like a win if you manage to do that. And you even get a silver for your troubles, right? So, if you can pair it
on the black market,
if you can pair it up with a shred or something, I think that definitely helps. I will say the value of Already Dead probably goes up a lot if you play more contracts, and you can also start running Cut to the Chase, because then being able to pump that to 9 obviously makes it a whole lot more scary. But
that's definitely a very legitimate way to take the deck, right? Like, you can swap out a lot of these cards, the sensors, some of the other kind of give and take, maybe these attacks which are a bit more kind of borderline. You could take them out for the contracts and lean into that, which I know has seen a lot of success. And then apparently the new dagger's sick as well, so maybe that's
I've heard that. I haven't actually played with it, but it has apparently some pretty good uses into a couple of matchups where you just like to have a dagger that comes in for 2. Because
2 go again.
2 go again for 2 resources is actually not a bad rate on a weapon. That's pretty solid if you think about it.
Particularly on the one hand there. So I could definitely see it. Ollie was recommending that, so I might give the contract list a bit of a go. But I think I'll always come back to this kind of blue Uzuri list. I do like it a lot.
Like, I think at the end of the day, Uzuri, a lot of how you build decks for her is just personal preference, right? That's what it kind of comes down to a lot. It's just finding what style you feel comfortable with, and then just running with that, and just taking, always keeping an eye on the meta, what's changing, what's going in, what's new, and then just trying to tech for that. That's kind of what we do, right? It's like find out what's going on, and then find out how you can beat it. That's like the main thing with Uzuri.
I definitely agree.
All right, this was a good one. Bit on the longer side, but like I said, I always manage to find these like really grindy fatigue matches for some reason.
Well, you've got to edit it. They're seeking you out to force you to spend longer, like tinkering away with it.
Maybe there's some like I would say stream snipers, except this isn't live broadcasted, so that obviously
just a conspiracy against you.
Maybe the anti-Plague Hive conspiracy. Make me spend more time in editing these videos. All right, it's been a blast having you here.
It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Keep performing so we can do more of these videos.
Mate, I'm always happy to come on and chat Uzuri. So if you're ever looking for someone to fumble their way through a matchup or something, just give me a shout.
All right. Any last words you want to give to anybody out there?
No, not particularly, but I think if you're considering Uzuri, it's that she still has a place in the meta. It's not always easy, but you can get it done.
All right. You heard it from the man himself. All right. Thanks, George, for being here again. And yeah, with that, I'll leave you and see you in the next one.
Right.